The ancients did not seek to be full, they sought to be empty. For only in emptiness, they understood, could all things truly be born. This wisdom, like a gentle stream, has flowed through centuries, yet we, in our modern world, have built dams of noise and ambition against it. We seek to fill every moment, every space, every silence. We fill our minds with information, our schedules with tasks, our lives with possessions, and we wonder why we feel so profoundly empty. You may be listening to this now because you feel that very same paradox. You have striven, you have pushed, you have climbed, only to find the view from the top is clouded with a strange and persistent exhaustion. You have sought answers in the noise, in the endless scroll of advice, in the promises of a world that tells you happiness is just one more achievement away. But what if the answer was never out there to be found? What if the path forward is not a path of acquiring, but of unlearning? Not of doing more, but of being more? What if the healing you seek does not come from adding another layer to who you are, but from gently peeling back the layers that are not you at all? This journey we are about to embark upon is not a lesson. It is a remembrance. It is an invitation to step out of the relentless current of the world and dip your feet into the timeless river of the Tao. The Tao is not a destination you must race towards. It is the very ground beneath your feet, the very air in your lungs, the silent, intelligent rhythm of the universe that you have been a part of since your first breath. Over the course of our time together, we will walk a path of return, a return to the stillness that lies beneath the storm of your thoughts, a return to the strength that is found not in force, but in softness, a return to the profound and simple truth of your own being. So find a place where you can be undisturbed, allow your body to soften, and simply listen. Not with the mind that analyzes and judges, but with the quiet, open heart of a seeker who is at long last ready to come home. The door is open. Let us begin. Let us begin by entering the most intimate and often the most turbulent space you will ever know, the space behind your own eyes. It is here, in the vast chamber of your mind, that a constant monologue unfolds, a voice, or perhaps many voices, that narrate, judge, worry, and remember. This voice feels like you. It uses your name, it recounts your history, it plans your future. It is so close, so inseparable from your sense of self, that you have come to believe you are this voice. But the wisdom of the Tao whispers a profound, liberating truth. You are not the voice, you are the one who hears it. You are not the thoughts, you are the space in which they appear. Your mind, in its natural state, is a vast, silent room. But over the years, this room has become an echoing chamber. Every word spoken to you in anger, every fear you have ever felt, every worry about tomorrow, every regret about yesterday does not simply disappear. It becomes an echo, bouncing off the walls of your consciousness, replaying itself in endless, subtle loops. Perhaps you recognize this. You lie down to sleep, and suddenly the echoes grow louder. A memory from a decade ago arises with a fresh sting. An anxious projection of a meeting next week begins to play out. A conversation that has not happened and may never happen. You try to reason with the echoes, to argue them into silence. You tell the anxious thought, there is nothing to worry about. You tell the regretful thought, it is in the past, let it go. But what happens? In this echoing chamber, your argument is just another shout, creating yet another echo. Your resistance gives the original thought more energy, more substance. It is like trying to flatten a ripple in the water with your hand. You only create more ripples. The fundamental misunderstanding that traps us in this cycle of inner noise is the belief that we must do something about our thoughts, that we must fix them, solve them, or defeat them. This is the path of struggle, the path of the warrior fighting shadows in a cave. Imagine yourself standing at the mouth of a deep, ancient cave. This cave is your mind. You step inside, seeking silence. But as your eyes adjust to the dim light, you begin to hear things. The drip, drip, drip of water is a persistent worry. The rustle of unseen leaves in the wind at the cave's mouth is the constant, low-level hum of anxiety. The echo of your own footstep is a memory, returning to you a moment after it has passed. Your first instinct might be to make a loud noise, to clap or shout, hoping to scare the silence into being. But in a cave, a shout does not create silence. It creates a thunderous, chaotic roar as your own voice is thrown back at you from 1,000 different surfaces. This is what we do when we fight our thoughts. We shout at our fear, and the cave shouts fear back at us. We get angry at our anger, and the cave fills with the echo of that anger. We despair at our sadness, and the entire chamber reverberates with despair. The teaching of the ancients offers a radically different approach. Do not shout, do not fight, do not even try to be silent. Simply sit. Sit in the center of the cave, your mind, and just listen. Be the witness. A thought of fear arises. Do not grab it. Do not push it away. Simply notice it. Ah, fear. It sounds like this. It feels like this in the body. It is an echo from the past, a vibration in the air. You observe it without judgment, as you would observe a cloud passing in the sky. You do not condemn the cloud for being dark. You do not try to push the cloud away. You simply notice its shape, its texture, and you watch as the winds of the mind, which you do not control, eventually carry it along. When you first begin to do this, it will feel impossible. The echoes will seem like a tidal wave, threatening to pull you under. They will scream for your attention. They will tell you that you must engage with them, that they are urgent, that they are you. This is their nature. They have been running the chamber for a very long time. Your practice is not to defeat them, but to gently, repeatedly, withdraw your belief in them. Each time you notice a thought and choose not to engage, you are cutting off its energy source. You are letting the echo fade naturally instead of creating a new one. A thought appears, I am not good enough. This is a very old, very powerful echo for many. The old way is to argue, yes I am, or to spiral into evidence of why it might be true. The new way is to observe. Ah, the not good enough story is playing. I see it, I hear it. You are not the story. You are the space that holds the story. You are the silent watcher. In doing this, a small gap of stillness is created, a moment of space between the thought and your identification with it. At first, this gap may last only for a second, but it is a second of pure freedom, and in that second, you will taste the profound peace of the empty room. This is not a passive act. It is an act of supreme intelligence and subtle strength. It requires patience. It requires a gentle compassion for yourself, for you are unlearning a lifetime of habit. There will be days when you are swept up by the echoes, when you forget you are the watcher and become the storm. This is part of the process. The goal is not to have a perfectly silent mind. Such a thing is not the nature of the mind, just as it is not the nature of the ocean to be perfectly flat. The goal is to learn how to be the ocean, vast and deep, which is not disturbed by the waves on its surface. To know that you are the stillness beneath the turmoil. So the first step on this path of timeless healing is simply this: to recognize the echoes, to see the thoughts for what they are, impersonal, fleeting patterns of energy, not commands, not truths, not you. They are the weather of your mind. You are the sky. The sky does not fight the weather. It allows the rain, the sun, the wind, and the clouds to pass, because it knows its own vast, unchanging nature. As you sit with this practice, you will notice the character of the chamber beginning to change. The echoes may still arise, but they will have less power. Their edges will seem softer. The space between them will grow longer. You will find that you can sit in the middle of your own mind and feel a sense of peace, even while a worried thought is present, just as you can sit in a quiet room and be at peace even while hearing the distant sound of traffic. The sound is there, but it does not disturb your stillness. It is just a sound. The thought is there, but it does not disturb your peace. It is just a thought. This is the beginning of inner freedom. It is the discovery that your sanctuary is not in some future state of a silent mind, but right here, right now, in your ability to be the silent witness to the noise. But, you may ask, what happens when the echoes become a hurricane? When the winds of fear or grief are so strong they threaten to tear everything apart? Recognizing the echo is one thing, but how do we keep from being carried away by its force? Where do we find our anchor in the storm? The answer does not lie in resistance, but in yielding. It lies not on the wind-blasted peak, but in the quiet place that the storm cannot touch. It lies in the valley, We ended our last moment together at the edge of a storm, asking where one finds an anchor. Our modern conditioning points us towards the mountain peak. It tells us that strength is found in rising above, in bracing against the wind, in being hard, resolute, and unyielding. The ego loves the mountain peak. It offers a view, a sense of superiority, a feeling of having conquered something. But the mountain peak is a lonely, exposed place. It bears the full, unabated force of every storm. Its strength is brittle. It can be cracked by lightning, and over millennia, it is worn down to dust by the very winds it resists. The ancient wisdom of the Tao points not to the peak, but to the valley. The valley is the mountain's opposite. It is low, soft, and humble. It does not seek to rise above, but to receive. It is hidden, protected, and fertile. The strength of the valley is not resistance, but acceptance. And it is here, in the quiet, receptive stillness of the valley, that you will find your anchor. This valley is not a place you must travel to. It is a state of being that already exists within you, waiting to be rediscovered. You have known it in fleeting moments, a quiet sense of peace after a deep sigh, the feeling of calm that settles after a storm of tears, the simple, grounded presence you feel when walking in nature. This is the entrance to your inner valley, the sanctuary of your being. To find it, you must be willing to let your awareness drop from the noisy, echoing chamber of your head with its sharp thoughts and endless analysis, and sink down into the chest, feeling the gentle rhythm of your heart, and further still, into the deep, quiet basin of your belly. Feel the center of your body, the center of your gravity. This is your ground. This is the fertile soil of the valley floor. It is here that stillness resides, not as an achievement, but as your fundamental nature. It is always present, just as the sky is always present behind the clouds. Now, imagine yourself resting in this valley. You are not striving, not holding on, not pushing anything away. You are simply present. And into this valley, the streams and rivers of your experience begin to flow. These are your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations. In the past, standing on the mountain peak of your ego, you tried to dam these rivers. When the river of anger flowed, you built a wall of suppression. When the river of grief appeared, you tried to divert its course with distraction. This is an exhausting and futile battle. A powerful river, when dammed, does not simply disappear. Its pressure builds and builds until the dam shatters, resulting in a catastrophic flood that washes everything away. You know this experience. It is the sudden outburst of rage, the overwhelming wave of sadness that comes from nowhere, the burnout that follows a long period of resistance. The valley does not build dams. Its very nature is to receive. It is open. When the clear, joyful stream of happiness flows in, the valley receives it. Wildflowers grow on its banks. When the muddy, turbulent river of fear arrives, the valley receives this too. It does not panic. It does not judge the water for being muddy. It simply provides the space for the river to flow through. Its vastness, its depth, can hold the turbulence. The river rages, but it is only passing through. It does not become the valley. The valley remains, and the river moves on. The mud may settle for a time, enriching the soil, providing lessons, but eventually the clear waters of stillness wash it clean. This is the secret of true emotional strength. It is not the absence of difficult emotions, but the capacity to provide a loving, non-judgmental space for them to exist and pass. When a feeling of sadness visits you, your task is not to become sad. Your task is to be the vast, quiet valley that allows the river of sadness to flow. You feel its coolness, its weight, its slow-moving current within you, but you know that you are the landscape, not the river. You are the container, not the contained. This creates a profound shift in your relationship with your own inner world. You are no longer a victim of your emotions, tossed about by their currents. You become a wise and compassionate host to them. You give them the one thing they have always needed, a space to be, without resistance. And a miracle occurs. When you stop fighting an emotion, it ceases to be a monster. It becomes simply energy, information. It delivers its message, and then its power dissipates, flowing onwards, leaving you in the quiet of your own being, perhaps a little wiser, a little more fertile than before. To live from the valley is to embody a different kind of power. The ego, on its mountain peak, sees yielding as weakness. But look to nature. The stiff oak tree cracks in the hurricane, while the flexible bamboo bends to the ground and rises again when the wind passes. Water, the softest thing, wears away the hardest rock. The power of the valley is the power of softness, of receptivity, of yin. It is a quiet, unshakable confidence that comes not from being able to withstand the storm, but from knowing that you are the sanctuary the storm cannot touch. You can feel the wind howl, but it does not shake your foundation. You can feel the rain fall, but it does not drown your spirit. This inner stillness becomes your home base, your point of return. In the middle of a chaotic day, you can learn to take a single conscious breath and drop your awareness back into the valley. In just a few seconds, you can reconnect with that deep, quiet ground of your being. It is an act of profound self-care, a way of anchoring yourself in reality when the echoes of the mind try to pull you into illusion. Resting here, in this fertile silence, a question naturally arises. Is this the final destination? Do we simply stay in the valley forever, in a state of passive retreat from the world? The Tao teaches that this is not an escape. This stillness is not an end, but a beginning. It is the source from which all wise and effective action originates. It is the deep, silent water from which the powerful wave is born. You have now found your anchor, your sanctuary. You have learned to be the space through which the rivers of life can flow. From this place of profound, grounded stillness, how then do you move in the world? How do you engage with that great river of life outside of you? How do you act without struggling? How do you participate without resisting? How do you navigate the currents without fighting them? The answer lies in learning the sublime art of moving with the flow, the art of letting go of the oars. From the deep stillness of your inner valley, you now stand at the water's edge. Before you is the great river of life, flowing endlessly, carrying everything along in its embrace. You have a small boat, your physical and emotional self. For most of your life, you have believed that the only way to navigate this river is through immense effort. You have been taught to grip the oars tightly, to brace your back, and to row with all your might against the current, or at least to force your own direction upon it. You have a destination in mind, a plan dictated by your ego and society, and you believe the river is an obstacle, a chaotic force that must be tamed and conquered. And so you row. You row in the burning sun and in the pouring rain. You row when your muscles scream and your spirit feels weary. Your gaze is fixed, not on the beauty of the journey, but on the churning water of your own struggle. The constant splashing of your oars is the noise in your mind, and the tension in your body is the strain of your resistance. You are so focused on the rowing that you have forgotten the river has a current of its own, an intelligence far greater than yours. This relentless effort, this struggle against the flow, is the source of our deepest exhaustion. The Tao offers a different way, a principle so simple yet so profound, it can change the very nature of your existence. It is called Wu Wei. This is often translated as non-doing or effortless action, but these translations can be misleading. Wu Wei is not about passivity, laziness, or resignation. It is not about letting your boat crash into the rocks. It is the art of acting in harmony with the natural flow of the universe. It is the action that arises from stillness, the doing that feels like non-doing. Imagine a master surfer on a colossal wave. The surfer is not creating the wave's immense power. The surfer is not fighting the wave. To fight such a force would be instant defeat. Instead, the surfer studies the wave, feels its rhythm, and aligns with its energy. With small, subtle adjustments of balance, the surfer rides the wave, borrowing its power to perform a dance of breathtaking grace. The effort is minimal, the action is maximal. This is Wu Wei. Most of us, however, spend our lives trying to swim against the wave, wondering why we are so tired and getting nowhere. Letting go of the oars is the first lesson in Wu Wei. It is a radical act of trust, and for the ego, it is terrifying. The ego is the frantic rower, the part of you that believes it is in control, that your safety and success depend entirely on your own strained effort. To let go of the oars is to surrender that illusion of control. What happens when you do? Your first fear is that you will stop or drift aimlessly or be swept into danger. But the boat does not stop. It simply begins to move with the river. It aligns itself with the current that was always there, a current you were fighting so hard you never even felt it. For the first time, you can lift your head. You can put down the heavy burden of forcing your will upon the world. And you see the sunlight dappling on the water's surface. You notice the ancient trees lining the riverbank, the hawks circling in the vast blue sky. You become aware of the river's own wisdom. It knows the way. It has been flowing to the ocean for millennia. It knows how to navigate around the large rocks and through the narrow passages. This does not mean you become a passive passenger. You still have a paddle, a rudder. This represents your conscious awareness and intention. From the quiet of the valley, from your grounded center, you can now make small, intelligent adjustments. You see a rough patch ahead, and with a gentle touch of the rudder, you guide the boat into a smoother channel. You feel a desire to explore a quiet cove, and you use the current's own eddy to drift peacefully into it. The action is calm, precise, and effective because it is not fighting the whole river, it is cooperating with it. You are no longer powering the journey with your own finite muscular strength. You are navigating with the infinite power and intelligence of the Tao itself. The difference in energy is immeasurable. One path leads to burnout, the other to a sustainable, graceful unfolding of your life. Reflect on your own experience. Think of a time you tried to force something to happen, a relationship, a job, a conversation. You pushed, you manipulated, you worried, you strategized. How did it feel in your body? Tense, constricted, draining. The result, even if you achieved it, likely felt hollow. That is the feeling of rowing against the current. Now, remember a time when you were in a state of flow, perhaps while engaged in a creative passion, a deep conversation, or even a simple task. Time seemed to disappear. Your actions felt spontaneous and perfect. There was a sense of ease, of joy, of being carried by a power greater than yourself. That is the feeling of Wu Wei. That is the feeling of having let go of the oars. Wu Wei teaches us to listen before we act, to wait for the right moment, the ripe time. The frantic rower acts from anxiety and impatience. The wise navigator of the Tao waits for the wind to be at their back. This waiting is not empty. It is a state of active, alert stillness. It is trusting that when the time for action is right, the action will be obvious, and it will feel effortless. It will feel like the most natural thing in the world. So how do we practice this? In conversation, it is listening more than you speak, allowing your response to arise naturally rather than rehearsing it in your head. In work, it is focusing on the process with calm attention, rather than being gripped by anxiety about the outcome. When faced with a problem, it is not forcing an immediate solution, but allowing the problem to rest in your quiet, spacious awareness, trusting that an insight will emerge when the conditions are right. It is learning to distinguish the whisper of intuition from the shout of the ego. The ego always wants to row harder. Intuition often suggests we lift the oars and just drift for a moment. This path of trust, this art of effortless action, is the ultimate freedom. But as you sit in your boat, having let go of the oars, you may notice the boat still feels heavy. It feels sluggish in the water, and you find your hands itching to grab the oars again, especially when the weather turns. The practice of Wu Wei is not a simple intellectual decision. It is a deep surrender. And we cannot fully surrender to the flow of the present moment if our boat is weighed down by the heavy cargo of another time. To truly trust the river, we must be willing to look at what we are carrying. We must examine the ghosts and the baggage that we have packed for this journey, the anchors we unknowingly drag along the riverbed. It is the weight of yesterday that creates our fear of tomorrow, and it is this fear that compels us to grab the oars and fight the current once more. Before we can truly master the art of navigating the river, we must first learn to let go of the rain that fell yesterday. You have let go of the oars, and for a moment you feel the gentle, intelligent pull of the river. There is a sense of relief, of freedom. But you quickly notice that the boat does not glide as effortlessly as you had hoped. It feels heavy, sluggish, and an old fear begins to creep back in. tempting you to grab the oars once more. This is because your boat is not empty. It is weighed down by a cargo you have been carrying for so long, you have forgotten it is even there. It is the weight of yesterday's rain. Every hurt, every disappointment, every failure, every moment of shame is a storm you have passed through. The storm itself is long gone. The clouds have parted, the thunder has faded, and yet you are still wearing the wet coat from that storm. It is a heavy, sodden garment, clinging to your skin, chilling you to the bone. And even on the sunniest of days, you carry its dampness and its weight, wondering why you cannot feel the warmth. The most profound illusion we live under is the belief that the past is a real place. We speak of it as if it were a country we could visit, a landscape that still exists. But the past is gone. It exists nowhere in the universe except as a trace in your mind, a story you tell yourself. It is a collection of echoes in the chamber, a ghost in the machine. It is a memory, and we, in our confusion, have mistaken our memories for ourselves. We do not say, I carry the memory of being abandoned. We say, I am an abandoned person. We do not say, I hold the memory of a failure. We say, I am a failure. We weave the stories of yesterday's rain into the very fabric of our identity, and so we keep the coat on. We walk through the vibrant, sunlit present, yet our experience is filtered through the cold grey lens of a storm that ended years ago. This is not just a mental burden. The body carries the rain too. The body does not know the difference between a real threat and a remembered threat. When your mind replays an old injury, your body responds as if it is happening right now. The shoulders tense, preparing for a blow that fell a decade ago. The stomach clenches, bracing for a shock that is now only a memory. The breath becomes shallow, anticipating a danger that has long since passed. This is the feeling of the wet coat. It is the chronic tension, the unexplained fatigue, the low-grade anxiety that hums beneath the surface of your days. It is your nervous system, still living in a storm that your conscious mind knows is over. Healing begins with the radical act of realizing you are standing in the sun, and you are still wearing a wet coat. Why do we cling so tightly to this comfortless garment? For many reasons, all of them born of a misunderstanding. We believe it protects us. We think, if I never forget the pain of that betrayal, I will never be naive enough to trust again. We mistake the weight of our trauma for the wisdom of experience. But the coat does not protect you. It only makes you hypersensitive. It makes you flinch at a gentle touch, mistaking it for a future blow. It makes you see threats in shadows, forever bracing for a storm that isn't coming. And in doing so, you miss the gentle beauty of the current weather. Sometimes, we wear the coat as a form of justice. The sheer weight of our suffering feels like a testament to the wrong that was done to us. To take it off, we fear, would be to say that what happened was okay. It would be to let the person or the situation that hurt us win. But look closely. Who is burdened by the coat? Who is chilled by its dampness? Who is weighed down by its impossible heaviness? Only you. The past is indifferent. Those who hurt you are likely not thinking of it at all. To keep wearing the coat in the name of justice is to sentence yourself to a lifetime of shivering for a crime that is already over. And perhaps the most subtle reason we keep the coat is that it has become our identity. The cold, damp feeling is familiar. We have built a personality around it, a story of survival. I am a survivor. I am the person who endured this. Without the story, without the coat, who would we be? The prospect of stepping out into the sun, warm and dry and undefined, can be more terrifying than the familiar misery of the cold. Taking off the coat is the true meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a moral gift you bestow upon another. It is not about condoning their actions. It is a pragmatic, profoundly selfish act of liberation. It is the moment you realize the heavy rock you have been carrying is only tiring your own arm, and you decide, for your own sake, to simply put it down. It is unbuttoning the first button of that cold, wet coat, not for them, but for you. It is the declaration. What happened is part of my history, but it will no longer be the definition of my present. I will no longer allow yesterday's rain to ruin today's sunshine. This is not a violent act of tearing the past away. That is just another struggle. This is a gentle turning of awareness. Feel the weight of the coat right now. Do not judge it. Do not fight it. Just acknowledge its presence. Acknowledge the old story, the old pain. Thank it for what it taught you, for the strength it forced you to find. Thank it for its perceived protection. And then, with immense compassion for the person who had to endure that storm, you can begin to let it go. You can gently, lovingly shrug it from your shoulders. Imagine the feeling of its weight lifting. Imagine the first touch of the sun's warmth on your skin, the skin that has been cold and damp for so long. It may feel strange, vulnerable, almost too bright, but it is the feeling of freedom. It is the feeling of your boat, finally unburdened, rising higher in the water. As you practice this, as you allow the past to be the past, the boat becomes lighter. You are no longer dragging the anchor of old grievances along the riverbed. You become more responsive to the river's subtle currents. You can navigate with more ease, more grace. Your fear of the future diminishes, because so much of that fear was just a projection of past pain. You are finally present, here, in your boat, on the river, in this moment. But now, a new, more fundamental question arises. As the coat of yesterday's stories falls away, you look at your reflection in the water, and you may not recognize who you see. The identity you knew, the self that was defined by those storms, is gone. So who is this person, light and free, but also strangely undefined? What is this I that remains when the stories are stripped away? Is this self, this ego, the final reality? Or is it just another, more subtle garment? A mask that you have, for your entire life, mistaken for your own face. You stand in your boat, having cast off the heavy, waterlogged coat of the past. A new lightness fills you, a sense of possibility. But as the old stories fall away, you are faced with a profound and unsettling nakedness. The identity you thought was you, the one defined by those past storms, has dissolved. And in its place, a question echoes in the newfound quiet. If I am not my history, then who am I? You look at your hands, you hear your name spoken, you see your reflection in the water, and you assume, this is me. But the wisdom of the Tao invites you to look deeper, to question the very foundation of this me. It suggests that what you think of as your face is, in fact, another mask, one you have worn for so long that you have forgotten the feeling of your own skin beneath it. This mask is your ego. It is not who you are, it is who you think you are. It is a survival tool, a psychological construct you began assembling in early childhood. You learned that certain behaviors earned you praise, and others brought disapproval. You learned to be the good child, the smart student, the funny friend. You gathered labels and identities like a traveler gathering souvenirs, stitching them together into a patchwork personality. I am a your profession. I am a your nationality. I am a your family role. I am an introvert. I am a victim. I am a success. The ego is this collection of labels, beliefs, and memories. It is your social media profile curated for the world. It extends itself to your possessions, believing my car and my house are extensions of itself. It puffs up with pride at its achievements and shrinks in shame with its failures. It is a phantom built from the ephemeral stuff of thought and opinion. And because it is a construct, it is inherently fragile. Its sense of well-being depends entirely on external conditions. When your beliefs are validated, the mask feels secure. When your role is praised, it shines. But when you lose the job that defined you, when a relationship that was part of your identity ends, when your body gets sick, the mask cracks. And because you believe you are the mask, you experience this cracking as a shattering of your very being. This is the root of immense human suffering, this case of mistaken identity. To awaken from this is to begin the process of gently loosening the mask, of creating a space between you and your story. This is where a new metaphor becomes our guide. If the ego is not you, then what are you? You are the sky, not the clouds. Imagine the sky. It is vast, open, boundless, and always present. It is inherently peaceful and clear. It holds everything within it. Now, imagine the clouds. They are the thoughts, emotions, and stories that drift through your awareness. The ego is a particularly dense and persistent cloud formation that tells you, we are the sky. One moment, a fluffy white cloud of, I am so productive today drifts by, and you feel good. You identify with it. You are that productive cloud. Then, a dark, heavy storm cloud of, I made a terrible mistake rolls in, and you feel awful. You are that storm cloud. You spend your life chasing the white clouds and running from the dark ones, forgetting that you are not the cloud at all. You are the sky. The nature of clouds is to be impermanent. They form, they change shape, they drift, and they dissolve. They have no solid reality. The nature of the sky is to be constant. The sky is never damaged by the storm. The most violent hurricane and the most brilliant sunset are just temporary weather patterns passing through the vast, impartial space of the sky. The sky does not cling to the beautiful sunset, mourning its passing. It does not resist the thunderstorm, fearing its power. It simply allows them all to be. It is the silent, unchanging witness. To realize you are the sky is the ultimate liberation. It means that your inner peace is no longer dependent on having good thoughts and positive emotions. Your well-being is not tied to the weather. Your fundamental nature is peace, is space, is stillness, regardless of the clouds that are passing through. How do we experience this? We can start with a simple inquiry. Ask yourself, who am I? Your mind will immediately offer a label from the mask. I am a writer. Look at that thought. You are aware of the thought, I am a writer. So you cannot be the thought itself. You are the awareness that perceives the thought. So, who are you without that label? The mind offers another. I am a parent. Again, you are aware of this identity. It is another cloud. Let it go. Who are you without your job, without your roles, without your name, without your history? As you gently discard every label the mind offers, you are left with a sense of pure, formless awareness, a feeling of just being. There are no words for it. This is the sky. The ego will panic here. It will scream, if I am not my stories, I am nothing. The Tao smiles at this and says, precisely. But this nothingness is not an empty void. It is a no-thingness. It is the fertile emptiness of pure potential, the silence from which all sound is born, the uncarved block that can become anything. This does not mean the ego is an enemy to be destroyed. You cannot fight a cloud. The ego is a necessary tool for navigating the world of things and labels. You need it to fill out a form, to do your job, to interact with society. The problem is not the mask, but your attachment to it. The enlightened master still has a name, a body, and a history. They use the ego as a tool, but they do not for a moment believe it is who they are. They wear the mask to function in the world, but they are always identified with the vast, silent space behind it. They are the actor who knows they are an actor, playing a role with skill, but never confusing the role with their true self. So your work is not to get rid of the clouds, but to cease identifying with them. When a thought of self-criticism appears, see it as a dark cloud. Say, a storm cloud is passing through the sky of my awareness. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to fight it. You simply recognize it for what it is. When a thought of pride arises, see it as a white, fluffy cloud. Enjoy its beauty, but don't cling to it, for it too will change shape and dissolve. By repeatedly shifting your identification from the passing clouds to the ever-present sky, you reclaim your power and your peace. You become weatherproof. Now, as you rest in this newfound identity as the sky, you can observe the weather of your life with a new clarity. You see that the clouds are formed by the interplay of opposing forces, of light and dark, sun and moisture, heat and cold. To truly be at peace as the sky, you must understand the nature of the weather. You must understand the forces that create the drama of your life. How can we see this constant play of opposites, not as a war between good and evil, but as a single, unified, and necessary dance? You have begun to see through the illusion of the mask. You have touched the quiet, boundless space of your true nature, the sky of awareness that remains untroubled by the passing clouds of thought and identity. Resting in this inner sky, you become a silent witness to the ceaseless weather of your own existence, and you begin to wonder What is the engine that drives this weather? What is the force that gives rise to the brilliant sunshine of joy and the dark thunderheads of sorrow? The Western mind has often framed this as a great battle, a cosmic war between good and evil, light and darkness, a struggle where one side must ultimately vanquish the other. But the wisdom of the Tao offers a vision that is infinitely more subtle, more harmonious, and more true. It reveals that these opposing forces are not enemies in a war, but inseparable partners in a timeless, elegant, and necessary dance. This is the great and primal dance of yin and yang. To understand this dance is to understand the fundamental operating system of the universe. Yin and yang are not things. They are the two fundamental energetic principles, the twin breaths of the Tao that give rise to all of creation. Let us first feel the energy of yang. Yang is the breath of expansion, of outward movement, of expression. It is the sun at its zenith, casting its powerful, life-giving rays upon the world. It is the explosive force of a seed bursting forth from the dark earth, reaching for the light. It is the upward rush of a flame, the assertive energy of speaking your truth, the decisive action of building and creating. In your own body, you feel yang as warmth, as vigor, as the impulse to move, to do, to achieve. It is the energy of day, of summer, of the mountain peak. It is masculine in its archetypal nature, not in gender, but in its outward, penetrating, and creative force. And now, let us feel the energy of yin. Yin is the breath of contraction, of inward movement, of quiet receptivity. It is the moon, casting its cool silver light, illuminating the world of dreams and shadows. It is the deep, silent darkness of the fertile earth, nurturing the seed before it sprouts. It is the downward flow of water, seeking the lowest place. It is the nurturing stillness of deep listening, the quiet gathering of energy during winter's sleep. In your body, you feel yin as coolness, as relaxation, as the impulse to rest, to be, to contemplate. It is the energy of night, of winter, of the silent valley. It is feminine, in its archetypal nature, receptive, nurturing, mysterious, and profound. For centuries, we have been taught to value yang over yin. Our societies celebrate action, growth, visibility, and relentless productivity. We are encouraged to be sunny, outgoing, and assertive. We have learned to fear and devalue the yin. We see rest as laziness, introspection as navel-gazing, vulnerability as weakness, and darkness as something to be immediately eradicated with artificial light and constant distraction. This deep imbalance is the source of our collective burnout, our anxiety, our disconnection from the rhythms of our own bodies and the earth. We are trying to live a life of perpetual summer, and we wonder why our inner soil has become depleted and barren. The path to wholeness is not to choose yang over yin, but to learn to honor both partners in the dance, for they are utterly codependent. One cannot exist without the other. You cannot know the brightness of the day without the darkness of the night. You cannot appreciate the energy of action without the deep restoration of rest. The mystery deepens when we look at the Taijitu, the symbol of this great dance. It is not a circle sharply divided in half. The line between the white yang and the black yin is a soft flowing S-curve. This is not a wall, but a permeable membrane, a place of constant conversation and exchange. And most importantly, within the heart of the whitest yang, there is a dot of black yin. And within the heart of the blackest yin, there is a dot of white yang. This is the secret key to all of life. It means that each force contains the seed of its own opposite. At the very peak of its expression, each energy begins to transform into the other. Think of the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. It is the moment of peak yang, maximum light. But in that very moment of triumph, the slow, inexorable journey toward the yin of winter begins. The days will now get shorter. Think of a moment of profound despair, a dark night of the soul where all hope seems lost. This is a moment of peak yin. Yet it is often in this very darkness, when the ego has finally surrendered its struggle, that a tiny new spark of insight, a seed of yang, is born, illuminating a new path forward. Let us watch this dance as it plays out in the grand cycles of nature. spring arrives as a great surge of yang energy. The world explodes in a riot of growth, of new life, of upward, outward movement. This builds to the glorious, radiant peak of summer, a season of pure yang expression, of heat and light and passionate activity. But it cannot last forever. As summer wanes, the yin energy begins its ascent. Autumn is a time of gentle surrender. The leaves turn, releasing their grip. The energy of the world begins to draw inward and downward. It is a time of harvest, of gathering the fruits of the summer's labor, of preparing for the quiet to come. Finally, winter arrives, the season of peak yin. The world becomes still, silent, and seemingly dormant. But this is not death. It is a sacred and necessary fallowness. Beneath the frozen ground, deep in the darkness, the life force is gathering, resting, and regenerating, preparing for the next great surge of spring. Your own life follows these same seasons. There are times for explosive growth, times for radiant expression, times for harvesting your wisdom, and essential times for quiet, inward rest. To fight this rhythm is to fight your own nature. We see this dance in the microcosm of our own bodies every single day. The act of waking is a yang movement, rising up to meet the day. The energy of your day is spent in yang activities, working, thinking, moving, talking, but this must be balanced by the yin of evening, the slowing down, the release of the day's concerns, and finally, the ultimate yin state of sleep, where the conscious mind dissolves and the body enters its deepest state of healing and regeneration. If you disrespect the necessity of sleep, if you try to live in a perpetual state of yang wakefulness, your health, both mental and physical, will inevitably collapse. The breath itself is this dance, the nourishing, receptive in, breath of yin, and the expressive, releasing out, breath of yang. Your heart beats with this rhythm, the yin of diastole as it fills with blood, the yang of systole as it pushes that life force out to the entire body. Consider your relationships through this lens. A healthy, vibrant relationship is a fluid dance of yin and yang energies between two people. There is the yang of speaking your truth, asserting your needs, and planning adventures together. But this must be balanced by the yin of deep listening, of holding space for your partner's feelings, of quiet, non-demanding intimacy. If a relationship becomes all yang, it is full of conflict, competition, and argument. If it becomes all yin, it can stagnate into passivity and unspoken resentments. The beauty is in the flow, the ability for each partner to sometimes lead and sometimes follow, sometimes speak and sometimes listen, creating a dynamic, resilient, and harmonious whole. Even your work and your creativity are governed by this dance. The world celebrates the yang phase of production, the finished report, the launched product, the published book. But no great work can be born without its necessary yin phase. This is the time of quiet contemplation, of incubation, of seemingly doing nothing. It is in this receptive, empty space that new ideas can percolate up from the unconscious. It is the fallow ground that is gathering the nutrients for the next creative harvest. To try and force creativity, to demand constant output, is to kill the very source from which it springs. You must honor the yin of incubation as much as you celebrate the yang of creation. To truly embrace this wisdom is to fundamentally shift your perspective on life. You stop categorizing your experiences as good or bad. These are labels of the ego. Instead, you can learn to see them as yin or yang. When you experience a period of success, joy, and high energy, you can recognize it as a yang phase. You enjoy it fully, with gratitude, but without clinging, knowing that it is a phase in a larger cycle. When you experience a period of sadness, withdrawal, confusion, or rest, you can recognize it as a yin phase. You do not panic or label yourself as depressed or a failure. You understand that this is a necessary and sacred time of rest, regeneration, and inward gathering. You learn to trust the rhythm. You stop fighting half of your own existence. This acceptance of the great dance of opposites in the world around us now prepares us for the most intimate dance of all. For this same interplay of light and shadow, of the expressed and the hidden, exists within the landscape of our own psyche. We all have a public face, a collection of traits that we find acceptable and have polished for the world to see: our kindness, our intelligence, our strength. This is our personal yang, but we also have a collection of energies and impulses that we have deemed unacceptable, that we have pushed down into the darkness of our unconscious because they did not fit the image of who we thought we should be. Our raw anger, our secret envy, our deep-seated fear, our unspiritual greed. This entire collection of disowned selves forms our personal yin, our inner darkness. The great psychologist Carl Jung gave it a name: the shadow. To be truly whole, to stop the civil war raging within our own souls, we must be willing to turn from the outer world and face this inner partner. We must learn to dance with our own shadow. This great dance of light and shadow, of expansion and contraction, plays out not just in the world around you, but in the universe within you. We all have parts of our personality that we present to the world. Our yang side, the parts that are acceptable, bright and strong. But we also have a yin side, a collection of impulses and feelings that we deem unacceptable. Our anger, our jealousy, our fear, our greed. These are the parts of ourselves we do not want to see. We push them down into the darkness of our unconscious minds, hoping they will disappear. This hidden, rejected collection of disowned selves is what the great psychologist Carl Jung called the shadow. To live in wholeness, to be a truly integrated human being, we must be willing to turn and face this inner darkness. We must learn not just to dance with the world's yin and yang, but to bravely, compassionately take the hand of our own personal shadow. You have come to a place of profound acceptance. You have begun to see your life not as a battle between good and bad, but as a harmonious cosmic dance of yin and yang. You are learning to honor the rhythms of nature, the cycles of action and rest, of expression and receptivity. This understanding brings great peace. But now, we must turn this compassionate lens from the grand, universal dance to the most intimate and often the most feared dance of all. We must descend from the sky of abstract wisdom and walk into the dark, hidden forest of our own psyche. The great dance of light and dark plays out not only in the heavens, but in the secret chambers of your own heart. To become truly whole, you must be willing to meet the partner you have spent your entire life avoiding. You must learn to dance with your shadow. What is this shadow? It is not a monster. It is not an evil entity waiting to destroy you. The shadow, a term brought into our consciousness by the great psychologist Carl Jung, is quite simply the collection of all the parts of yourself that you have disowned. It is the psychological suitcase you have been packing since you were a small child. When you were young, you were a being of pure, unfiltered totality. You were angry, you were joyful, you were selfish, you were generous, you were fearful, you were brave. You were all of it. But you quickly learned that to survive, to be loved, to belong, certain parts of you were acceptable and other parts were not. When you expressed raw anger, you might have been punished or told, "Good children don't get angry." So, into the suitcase of the shadow went your anger. When you felt fear, you might have been told to be a big boy or stop being so sensitive. So, into the suitcase went your vulnerability and your fear. When you expressed a powerful, creative, and disruptive impulse, you might have been told to sit down and be quiet. And so, tragically, a piece of your brilliant, unique life force went into the suitcase as well. This process continued throughout your life. Your family, your school, your culture, and your religion all handed you a list of acceptable and unacceptable traits. We learned that being assertive was good, but being aggressive was bad. We learned that being selfless was good, but being needy was bad. We learned that being rational was good, but being too emotional was bad. We became expert editors of our own being, cutting out the unacceptable pages and hiding them away in the dark. This collection of exiled parts, these disowned pieces of your own soul, they do not die. They coalesce in the unconscious, forming a powerful, autonomous sub-personality. This is the shadow, and its primary motivation is to one day be seen, to be heard, to be reunited with the whole. The central paradox is this: the more you deny and repress your shadow, the more power it has over your life. A feeling that is ignored does not go away, it metastasizes. It grows distorted and toxic in the darkness. The shadow controls you from behind, pulling your strings in ways you do not understand. It is the reason for your sudden, inexplicable moods. It is the source of your self-sabotaging behaviors that seem to ruin your life just when things are going well. It is the driver of your compulsions and addictions, the seemingly alien force that makes you do the very thing you swore you would never do again. These are not random malfunctions of your personality. These are the desperate cries of the exiled parts of you, rattling the bars of their cage, demanding to be acknowledged. Because you cannot or will not see the shadow within yourself, you are condemned to see it everywhere outside of you. This is the crucial mechanism of projection. The world becomes a giant screen, and your mind becomes a projector, casting the images of your own disowned self onto the people around you. The qualities in others that trigger your most intense, irrational, and violent reactions are the very qualities that live, unacknowledged, in your own shadow. This is a truth so profound it can change the entire landscape of your relationships. That person at work whose laziness drives you into a rage, they are a mirror for the part of you that desperately needs rest, a part you have labeled unproductive and worthless. Your rage is not truly at them, it is at the reflection of your own forbidden longing for stillness. That public figure whose arrogance and self-promotion disgusts you, they may be a mirror for your own golden shadow, the disowned, brilliant part of you that secretly longs to be seen, to take up space, and to share its gifts, but was taught that humility requires you to stay small. This is why shadow work is the key to compassion. Without it, we live in a world of judgment and blame, constantly trying to fix or condemn the people around us, never realizing we are only fighting with our own reflections. We become trapped in a witch hunt, but the witch we are hunting is a part of our own soul. The path to wholeness requires us to call off the hunt, to turn off the projector, and to do the bravest thing a human being can do. Turn around, walk into the darkness of our own inner cellar, and meet who is there. The great mythologist Joseph Campbell said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." This is the essence of shadow work. So how do we begin this dance? How do we enter this cave? We begin by following the trail of our own emotional triggers. Your triggers are your treasure map. That flash of rage, that pang of envy, that wave of judgment, these are not problems. They are signposts. They are breadcrumbs leading you back to a lost part of yourself. The practice is to, in the moment of being triggered, pause. Instead of instantly reacting and blaming the external cause, you take a breath and turn your awareness inward. You ask the question, what in me is being activated right now? Why this person? Why this behavior? What is the deeper echo this is setting off in me? This leads to the second stage, the sacred dialogue. This is not a cold, intellectual analysis. It is a compassionate conversation with the lost part of yourself. You can give the shadow energy a name or an image. My inner critic, my frightened child, my hidden rage. Then, in the quiet of your own mind or even in a journal, you ask it questions. To the rage, you might ask, what boundary of mine has been crossed? What are you trying to protect? What vital energy are you holding for me? To the frightened child, you might ask, what are you afraid will happen? What do you need from me right now to feel safe? You must listen for the answers, not just in words, but in bodily sensations, in feelings, in images. The rage might reveal itself not as a destructive monster, but as a fierce protector of your life force, the very energy you need to say no and set boundaries. The fear might reveal itself as the guardian of your soft, vulnerable heart. This leads to the third and most crucial stage, integration. It is not enough to simply understand your shadow. You must bring its energy back into your conscious life in a healthy, constructive way. You must give it a job. If you have disowned your anger, integration doesn't mean you start shouting at everyone. It means you reclaim the energy of that anger and use it to speak up for yourself calmly and firmly. You learn to set boundaries. You honor the protective power of your anger. If you have disowned your vulnerability, integration means you take the small, courageous risk of sharing your true feelings with someone you trust. You allow the soft part of yourself to be seen, and you discover it is a source of deep connection, not weakness. This is especially true for our golden shadow. If you discover a disowned creativity, integration means you buy the paints, you sign up for the class, you write the first page. You give that brilliant, exiled part of you a voice and a space to exist in your life. To dance with the shadow is to become a master of alchemy. You are taking the lead of your repressed, toxic emotions and transmuting it into the gold of conscious, authentic power. You are not destroying the shadow, you are liberating it. And in liberating it, you liberate yourself. The result of this courageous dance is a profound sense of wholeness. You are no longer living a half-life, pretending to be only your light side. You become more grounded, more real, more human. You become less judgmental of others because you have stopped judging yourself. You develop a deep and resilient self-compassion. You are no longer so easily triggered because you have already welcomed home the very things that used to scare you. Your life takes on a new vitality because you have reclaimed the vast amounts of energy you were spending on repression and projection. This wholeness, this radical self-acceptance of all your parts, the light and the dark, the strong and the weak, the noble and the piteous, the very essence of spiritual maturity. It is what it feels like to be an integrated human being. This integrated state is what the Taoist sages were pointing to when they spoke of returning to our original nature. It is a nature that is not perfect in the sense of being flawless or all light. It is a nature that is whole, complete, and unapologetically itself. It is like a great, ancient tree, strong and beautiful, not because it has no broken branches or dark hollows, but because it has integrated them into its being, drawing strength and character from its own history of storms and shadows. This is the state of being that existed before we learned that parts of us were unacceptable. It is the simple, powerful, and authentic beauty of the uncarved block. You have walked the courageous path inward. You have sat with the echoes in your mind. You have rested in the silent valley. You have learned to dance with the shadows. Through this journey of integration, a new feeling begins to dawn. A sense of wholeness that is not complicated, but profoundly simple. You are no longer wasting your life force pretending to be only half of yourself. You are becoming real. And this reality feels less like an achievement and more like a return. A return to a state of being the ancient Taoist masters called Pu, the uncarved block. Pu is the embodiment of your original nature, the person you were before the world started chipping away at you. It is a state of pure, unadulterated potential, like a block of wood fresh from the forest, its grain, its scent, its essence whole and intact. From the moment you were born, the world, with the best of intentions, began to carve you. Your parents, your teachers, your culture, they were all woodcarvers. They picked up their tools and began to shape you into something recognizable, something useful, something good. A sharp edge of your personality was sanded down here. A unique knot of your character was chiseled away there. You were carved into a specific shape, a doctor, an artist, a parent, a spiritual seeker. You became a someone, a defined object with a clear function and purpose. And for a time, this carved identity served you. It gave you a way to navigate the world, a role to play. But there is a hidden cost to being carved. The block of wood that held infinite potential, once carved into a chair, can now only be a chair. Its potential has been defined, and therefore, limited. Furthermore, a carved and polished object is fragile. It lives in constant fear of being scratched, dented, or stained. The pressure to maintain this finished, perfect surface is immense. You worry about your reputation, about living up to the expectations of your role. You are no longer a living, breathing piece of nature. You are a piece of furniture, worried about dust and decay. The uncarved block, however, has a different kind of beauty. A scratch on a natural log is not a flaw. It is simply more character. The log is not trying to be anything other than what it is. It is simple, honest, and grounded. It exists without apology. To return to the state of Pu is to reclaim this honest, unapologetic simplicity. It is to let go of the exhausting performance of being the carved person you think you should be, and to simply rest in the authentic nature of who you are. This does not mean you become useless or undeveloped. It is the opposite. The uncarved block holds the potential to become anything. It can be used to build a home, to carve a beautiful flute, or to be burned as firewood to give warmth to others. Its function is not fixed. Living from the state of Pru means you regain this natural responsiveness. You are no longer trapped in a single rigid identity. When a situation calls for wisdom, wisdom arises. When it calls for playfulness, you can be like a child. When it calls for fierce protection, that energy is available to you. You are not the wise one or the playful one. You are the uncarved block, able to meet the moment with whatever is needed, without being defined by it. There is an immense freedom in this. You stop trying to be consistent with a past version of yourself. You are free to be fully present, fresh and new in every moment. You have tasted this state many times in your life, perhaps without realizing it. Think of a time you were completely absorbed in a simple, non-goal-oriented activity. Perhaps you were walking in the forest, listening to the birds, or maybe you were lost in the act of painting, or kneading dough, or humming a tune. In those moments, who were you? You were not your job title, your family history, or your list of worries. The entire heavy structure of your carved identity fell away. There was just being, just the scent of the pine, the feeling of the paintbrush, the warmth of the dough. That is a glimpse into the world of the uncarved block. It is a state of isness, pure and simple. The ego, the carved self, will resist this. It will ask, if I stop trying to improve myself, if I stop striving to be better, won't I stagnate? Won't I become lazy and complacent? This is the fear of the woodcarver, not the wisdom of the forest. Returning to the uncarved block is not about stopping your growth. It is about stopping your forced growth and allowing natural growth. A tree does not try to grow. It does not have a 5-year plan for becoming a taller tree. It simply sinks its roots into the earth, accepts the sunlight and the rain, and growth is the effortless, inevitable result. Living as Pru means you stop focusing on carving yourself into a better future self. Instead, you focus on nourishing your roots in the present moment, on being fully who you are right now. True, organic growth will happen as a natural consequence, and it will feel like grace, not effort. This is not a journey back to ignorance. It is not about pretending you don't know what you know. The sage who embodies Pru is not a simpleton. They have been through the entire process of being carved. They have known the complexities of the world, the pain and the joy, the ambition and the disappointment, but they have consciously chosen to return to simplicity. They have integrated all of their knowledge and experience into a state of wise innocence. They have all the wisdom, but they wear it so lightly it is almost invisible. They meet the world with an open heart and a beginner's mind, unburdened by the need to be an expert, to be right, or to be someone. This simple, authentic state of being possesses its own unique and profound strength. It is not the rigid, brittle strength of a polished statue that can be shattered. It is a resilient, supple, and enduring strength. It does not come from hardness, but from its very nature. The power of the uncarved D-block is not in what it resists, but in what it is. This quiet, unassuming power finds its greatest expression and its most perfect metaphor in the most humble and yet most powerful element in the natural world. How can we learn to live with this kind of strength? A strength that is soft yet unconquerable, a strength that adapts to all things and yet overcomes all things. We must learn from the profound wisdom and power of water. The uncarved block, your authentic and simple self, possesses a strength that is not rigid or brittle, but supple and enduring. To understand the nature of this power, we must turn to the greatest teacher of the Tao in the natural world, water. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu observes that nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water, yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. This is a profound secret, a paradox that upends our conventional understanding of power. We are taught that strength is hardness, that power is force. Water teaches us that true power lies in softness, and true strength lies in the ability to yield. To live wisely and effectively in the world, you must learn to be like water. Let us look at the qualities of water and see how they can become our own. First, water is humble. It always seeks the lowest place. It does not strive to be on the mountain peak. It flows naturally downwards. gathering in the quiet, receptive valleys. Yet in doing so, it forms the deepest lakes and the most powerful oceans. The entire world comes to it for life. This is a lesson in the power of humility. The ego wants to be on top, to be seen, to be the most important. But this striving for elevation is exhausting and precarious. By being willing to take the lower position, to listen more than you speak, to serve rather than to dominate, you paradoxically become a source of great strength and influence. You become like the deep, calm lake to which all streams eventually flow. Second, water is infinitely adaptable. It has no fixed shape. Poured into a square vase, it becomes square. Poured into a round bowl, it becomes round. It does not complain that the vase is not a bowl. It does not resist its container. It simply, effortlessly adapts. This is a lesson in navigating the circumstances of your life. How often do we waste our energy wishing our situation was different? We wish our job was less stressful, our family was more understanding, our challenges were easier. We are like a substance that is constantly fighting the shape of its container, creating friction and suffering. To be like water is to learn to adapt to the present reality without losing your essential nature. You can fulfill the duties of your role. You can meet the demands of the day. You can flow through any social situation, all while remaining internally free, formless, and fluid, like the water that is unbothered by the shape it temporarily holds. Third, water is relentlessly persistent. Its strength is not in a single violent attack, but in its gentle, constant presence. A single drop of water falling on a granite boulder has no effect, but a constant drip falling in the same spot over years and decades will wear a hole straight through the hardest rock. This is the power of Wu Wei, of effortless action in its purest form. When you face a great obstacle in your life, the ego's instinct is to gather all its force and try to smash through it in one heroic effort. This often leads to burnout and failure. The way of water is to apply gentle, consistent, focused attention. It is the small daily practice, the patient conversation, the steady work. You do not need to move the mountain today. You only need to be the single drop of water that falls today, and again tomorrow, and the day after. Trust in the cumulative power of gentle persistence. It is a force that can reshape continents. Finally, when water is still, it becomes a perfect mirror. A turbulent, churning lake reflects nothing but its own turmoil. But when the water becomes calm, its surface becomes like glass, reflecting the sky, the moon, and the trees with perfect, undistorted clarity. This is a metaphor for the mind. When your mind is churned by the winds of desire, fear, and judgment, you cannot see reality clearly. You only see the reflection of your own inner chaos. The practice of becoming still, which we found in the Silent Valley, is the practice of allowing the waters of your mind to settle. It is in this state of inner stillness that you perceive the world and yourself as you truly are. You become a clear reflection of the Tao. So, how do we live this? Be like water, the sage advises. When you are in a disagreement, do not be like a rock meeting another rock, creating only sparks and fractures. Be like water. Yield to the other person's argument, flow around their rigid positions, listen to the energy behind their words. You will often find a path to resolution that was invisible when you were locked in direct opposition. When you encounter an obstacle, a great boulder blocking your path, do not waste your life force trying to push it. Pause. Be like water. Feel the shape of the boulder. The path forward may be to the left or to the right. It may be a tiny crevice you can seep through over time. It may be a matter of rising until you can flow over the top. The moment you stop pushing is the moment you can see all the other options that were always available. This fluidity must extend to your very sense of self. You are not the cup, you are the water. You are a parent, a worker, a friend, a child. These are containers, roles you temporarily inhabit. Play them well, fill them completely. But do not forget that your true nature is the formless water. When the role is over, you flow on, undefined. This prevents you from becoming rigid and brittle, from shattering when one of the cups of your life is taken away. This is the strength of the uncarved block, expressed through the action of water. It is the power that comes from yielding, from adapting, from being soft. At the very heart of water's power is a single, profound principle. It does not argue with reality. It accepts. It accepts the pull of gravity that draws it to the lowest place. It accepts the shape of the cup and the hardness of the rock. It wastes no energy on wishing things were different. It simply works with what is, and in doing so, it finds its path and expresses its power. This deep, innate, non-judgmental acceptance is the key that unlocks its incredible potential. To truly be like water, we must cultivate this same radical acceptance in our own hearts and minds. How do we learn to stop arguing with our own lives? How do we become the quiet lake that accepts the reflection of both the dark cloud and the bright sun without judgment? The power of water, its ability to adapt and overcome, flows from a deep, silent spring, the principle of acceptance. Water does not argue with the rock. It embraces its shape. For a human being, this is not always a natural instinct. It is a profound art that must be learned, the art of accepting what is. Let us be clear from the outset. Acceptance is not resignation. It is not passivity. It is not condoning harmful behavior or giving up on creating change. It is not saying, "I like this situation," or "this pain is good." Acceptance is simply the courageous and radical act of dropping your inner war with reality. It is looking at a situation, a feeling, or a thought, and saying with quiet clarity, "This is." The moment you stop fighting what is, you reclaim all the energy you were wasting in the futile battle, and you become free to act with wisdom and power. To understand this, we must first understand the nature of our suffering. Most of our deepest pain is not caused by the event itself, but by our resistance to it. Imagine an arrow strikes you. That is the initial pain, the first arrow. It is an unavoidable part of life. There will be loss, sickness, and disappointment. But then, we inflict a second arrow upon ourselves. We say, "This shouldn't have happened. Why me? I can't stand this." This is the arrow of judgment, of resistance, of non-acceptance. The pain of this second arrow is often far greater than the first. It is the anger at our sadness, the anxiety about our fear, the shame about our jealousy. We take an initial clean wound and infect it with the poison of our own inner conflict. The art of acceptance is the art of not firing that second arrow. It is allowing the reality of the first arrow, the raw data of your present experience, to be as it is, without adding the secondary layer of struggle. The most perfect metaphor for this state of being is one we have visited before: the sky. The sky does not judge the clouds. Think of this: a dark, violent thunderhead rolls in, full of lightning and fury. It is a negative experience, but the sky does not resist it. It does not try to push the storm away or condemn it for being a storm. The very nature of the sky is to be the vast, silent, and impartial space in which the storm can happen. The sky holds the storm, allows it to rage, to release its rain, and to eventually pass, as all things do. Because it does not resist, the sky is never harmed by the storm. It remains in its own peaceful, primordial state. Then, a glorious sunset paints the horizon with breathtaking colors, a supremely positive experience. The sky does not desperately cling to the sunset, mourning its inevitable fading into twilight. It simply allows the beauty to be, to unfold, and to transform. It holds the beauty with the same spacious, non-attached grace that it held the storm. To practice the art of acceptance is to become the sky for your own inner weather. An uncomfortable feeling arises: anxiety. The habit of the mind is to immediately resist. "Oh no, not this feeling. I hate being anxious. I have to get rid of it." This is the second arrow. This is you, the sky, trying to fight a cloud. The practice of acceptance is to change your inner stance. You notice the anxiety. You feel the tightness in your chest, the racing thoughts. And instead of fighting, you soften. You mentally take a step back and say, "Ah, anxiety is present. This is a cloud of anxiety passing through the sky of my awareness." You are not your anxiety. You are the space that is aware of the anxiety. You host the feeling without becoming it. You allow it to be there. knowing that, like all clouds, it is temporary and it will pass in its own time if you do not fuel it with resistance. This is not a mental trick, it is a deep, embodied practice. You can try it right now. Bring to mind something in your life that you are resisting, perhaps a physical pain, a difficult emotion, or a challenging situation. First, notice the feeling of resistance itself, the tension, the no in your mind and body. Now, see if you can gently let go of that no, not to make the situation disappear, but just to stop the inner fight. Breathe into the space around the discomfort. Instead of constricting against the pain, imagine creating a vast, soft space for it. You are becoming the sky. The pain is the cloud. You are allowing the cloud to float in the vastness of your awareness. What you will often find is a miracle. The moment you truly stop fighting the pain, its power over you diminishes. The second arrow dissolves, and you are left with only the clean sensation of the first arrow, which is far more manageable. This practice transforms your entire life. You stop being a victim of your own moods and emotions. You develop a deep, unshakable peace that is not dependent on your life being perfect. This peace, this equanimity, comes from your willingness to be with life as it is. It is the peace of the sky which remains untroubled by the weather. It is the peace of the water which remains itself regardless of the container it fills. But this peace is not the final goal. It is the foundation. It is the clearing of the battlefield so that you can see the path forward. When you are no longer blinded by the smoke of your own inner war, you can perceive reality with stunning clarity. And it is from this place of clear seeing and profound acceptance that wise action naturally arises. You have stopped fighting reality, so now you are free to work with it. From this calm center, this state of being the sky, how then do we move through the world? How do we interact with other people? How do we make decisions that are in alignment with the Tao? When we are no longer governed by the reactive turmoil of judgment and resistance, what guides us? The ancient sages taught that from this deep acceptance, a life of natural virtue unfolds, guided not by rigid rules, but by an inner compass. This compass has three essential directions, three precious jewels that will guide your every step. These are the three treasures for a life lived in harmony. You have found the peace of the sky, the vast silent space of acceptance that does not judge the weather of your life. From this quiet harbor, a new question arises. How do we sail? How do we move and act in the world in a way that is aligned with the deep truth we have found? When we are no longer driven by the turbulent winds of ego, judgment, and resistance, what becomes our compass, our map, our vessel? The Tao Te Ching tells us that a life lived in harmony with the Tao naturally expresses itself through three fundamental qualities. These are not rigid commandments to be obeyed, but precious treasures that blossom effortlessly from a heart that is at peace with reality. They are compassion, moderation, and humility. The first treasure is compassion. In the Taoist sense, compassion is not mere pity or a sentimental feeling. It is the profound, intuitive understanding that arises from seeing the interconnectedness of all things. Because you have danced with your own shadow, because you have sat with your own pain, you no longer look at the suffering of others with judgment. You see their anger not as a flaw, but as the cry of a hidden wound. You see their arrogance not as a strength, but as a mask for a deep insecurity. Your inner work of self-acceptance naturally flows outward as compassion for others. You understand that we are all clouds drifting through the same sky, all boats navigating the same great river. This compassion is your compass. In any situation, especially one of conflict or confusion, the question, what is the most compassionate path, will always point you toward the Tao. It cuts through the complexities of ego and strategy and simplifies your choice. It guides you to act from a place of connection, not separation. From this compassion, the sage says, comes true courage. For when you act not for selfish gain, but from a place of love, you align yourself with the power of the universe itself, and your personal fears begin to dissolve. The second treasure is moderation, often translated as frugality or simplicity. This is not about being stingy or depriving yourself of joy. It is the profound wisdom of enough. It is the art of avoiding excess in all its forms. Our modern world is a constant scream for more information, more stimulation, more possessions, more speed. This relentless pursuit of more is the source of our collective exhaustion. Moderation is the gentle whisper that reminds you of the beauty in simplicity. It is moderation in speech, understanding that silence is often more powerful than words. It is moderation in desire, finding contentment in what you have rather than perpetually chasing what you lack. It is moderation in action, conserving your energy for what truly matters. This moderation is your fuel. Every excessive desire, every moment of frantic, unnecessary activity is a leak in your energetic fuel tank. By living simply, by choosing enough over more, you plug the leaks. You conserve your vital energy. This makes you resilient, focused, and powerful. You have a deep well of energy to draw from when life truly demands it. From this moderation, the sage says, comes true generosity. When you are rooted in the feeling of enough, you can give freely to others without any sense of loss or depletion, for you know your own wellspring is full. The third treasure is humility. This is perhaps the most misunderstood of the three. It is captured in the beautiful phrase from the Tao Te Ching, not daring to be first under heaven. This is not an instruction to be a timid follower or to have low self-esteem. It is the profound wisdom of not needing to put yourself forward, of not needing to be the expert, the leader, the star. It is the wisdom of the valley that is content to be low, the wisdom of water that is content to be soft. The ego always wants to be first, to be right, to be recognized. This creates constant competition and anxiety. Humility is the liberation from this struggle. It is the quiet confidence that allows you to contribute without needing credit, to speak the truth without needing to win the argument, and to act effectively without needing to be in charge. This humility is your vessel. Imagine a boat. A boat that is top-heavy with a huge, ornate sail of pride and ego is easily capsized by the first strong wind. A humble boat sits low and steady in the water. It is balanced, seaworthy, and safe. It weathers the storms with ease because it does not present a large, rigid target for the wind. From this humility, the sage says, comes the capacity for true leadership. Because you do not seek power, people are not threatened by you. They trust you. You lead not from the front, by command, but from behind, by quiet example and selfless service. This is the most powerful and sustainable leadership of all. These three treasures are not separate virtues to be practiced one by one. They are an interwoven whole, a complete navigation system for a life of peace and harmony. Compassion is the compass that sets your direction. Moderation is the fuel that gives you the energy for the journey. Humility is the well-balanced boat that carries you safely through all waters. Living this way has a profound effect on your entire being. It is not just an ethical choice, it is an energetic one. The way you live directly impacts the quality and flow of your own life force. By avoiding the friction of judgment, the waste of excess, and the tension of ego, you cultivate a smooth, powerful, and coherent energy within you. This inner energy, known to the sages for millennia, is the very substance of life itself. What is this vital force, this subtle current that flows through you and all of existence? And how does a life guided by the three treasures nourish and harmonize its flow? We now turn our attention from the outer expression of the Tao to its inner energetic reality, the flow of Qi. To live by the three treasures is to live a life of deep sanity and grace. Compassion softens your heart, moderation preserves your energy, and humility keeps you grounded and safe. This way of life is not merely an ethical code, it is a form of profound energetic hygiene. It naturally cultivates and harmonizes the subtle life force that flows within you. The ancient sages of the Tao had a name for this vital energy. They called it Qi, often spelled Qi. Qi is the animating breath of the universe. It is the invisible current that flows through all of existence, from the spinning of the galaxies to the unfurling of a leaf, and most intimately, through the landscape of your own body and mind. It is the difference between a living body and a corpse. The quality of your life, your health, your clarity, and your peace is directly related to the quality and the flow of your qi. Think of qi as the electricity that powers the intricate hardware of your being. When the current is strong, steady, and flowing freely, all systems function optimally. You feel vibrant, your mind is clear, your emotions are balanced, and your body's innate capacity for healing is robust. You move through life with a sense of ease and vitality. However, when the flow of qi becomes blocked or stagnant, problems arise. In the Taoist view, the body is mapped with intricate pathways, like rivers, through which this energy flows. These are often called meridians. When a blockage occurs in one of these rivers, it is like building a dam. Downstream, the landscape becomes starved and dry, leading to feelings of fatigue, coldness, depression, and a weakened immune system. Upstream, behind the dam, the pressure builds. The water becomes stagnant and swampy, leading to inflammation, tension, pain, high blood pressure, and explosive emotional outbursts like anger or anxiety. What causes these blockages, these dams in our inner rivers? The primary culprits are the very states of being we have been exploring. Repressed emotions are one of the greatest sources of stagnant qi. When you push down your anger, your grief, or your fear, you are literally creating an energetic traffic jam in your body. The constant, frantic thinking of the echoing chamber consumes vast amounts of qi and disrupts its smooth circulation. The stress of trying to row against the river of life creates knots of tension in your muscles that physically impede the flow. A lifestyle that disrespects natural rhythms, filled with excess and artifice, further muddies the waters. Your inner state is not an abstract psychological concept. It has a direct and immediate energetic consequence. To make this clearer, imagine your body and mind are a beautiful sprawling garden. Qi is the life-giving water that irrigates this garden, flowing through a complex system of channels and ditches. The rocks and dense weeds that clog these ditches are your unresolved emotional wounds, your negative thought patterns, your physical tensions, and your unhealthy habits. When the channels are clear, the water of qi flows everywhere, nourishing every flower, every tree, every blade of grass. The garden is lush, vibrant, and resilient. But when the channels become clogged, parts of the garden begin to suffer. Some areas become dry and barren. Other areas, behind the blockages, become waterlogged and swampy. The gardener's job is not to create the water. Qi is a gift from the universe, the very air we breathe. The gardener's job is simply to tend the garden, to gently remove the weeds and rocks so that the water can flow as it is naturally meant to. So, how do you become a wise gardener of your own qi? The Taoist arts offers simple, profound methods for clearing the channels. The most immediate and accessible tool is your own breath. The breath is the great regulator of qi. In fact, the Chinese character for qi, he, depicts the steam or vapor rising from cooking rice, a beautiful image of nourishment and energy. We do not just breathe air, we breathe in the qi of the universe. Most of the time, our breathing is shallow and unconscious, but by practicing deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing, you engage a powerful pump for your inner energy. As you breathe in deeply, imagine drawing fresh, vibrant qi into your body. As you breathe out slowly, imagine releasing stale, stagnant energy. This simple act, practiced for just a few minutes, can calm your nervous system, oxygenate your blood, and begin to dissolve minor energetic blockages. The second great tool is stillness. This is the practice of resting in the silent valley. When you meditate or simply sit in quiet presence, you stop churning the waters of your mind. You stop creating new blockages with frantic, anxious thought. In this stillness, you allow the natural intelligence of your own energy system to take over. The sediment in the water begins to settle. The qi, no longer being disrupted, naturally begins to rebalance itself, to find its proper course, and to resume its healing flow. This is why stillness can be so profoundly restorative. You are getting out of your own way and allowing the wisdom of the body to do its work. Living by the three treasures is in itself a form of advanced qi cultivation. Compassion dissolves the hard blockages of judgment and resentment. Moderation stops the constant leakage of your vital energy. Humility smooths the friction between you and the world, allowing you to move with less resistance and therefore with greater efficiency. This life force, this qi, is not confined within your skin. The qi flowing through you is a wave in the great ocean of qi that constitutes the entire cosmos. Your personal energy field is constantly interacting with the energy fields around you. As you clear your inner channels, as your qi becomes more abundant, coherent, and calm, the very quality of your energetic signature begins to change. You stop broadcasting a signal of chaos, resistance, and need. Instead, you begin to emanate a quiet, steady, and harmonious frequency, a resonance of peace and wholeness. The universe, which operates on the principle of resonance, naturally responds to this shift. What happens when the cosmos begins to listen not to the frantic noise of your ego, but to the powerful, silent vibration of your cultivated heart? What happens when your own quiet stillness becomes a magnet for all that is harmonious and true? The life force, the qi, that flows within you is not an isolated stream. It is a current in the vast, intelligent ocean of universal energy. As you cultivate your inner world, as you quiet the echoes, rest in the valley, and harmonize your being with the three treasures, the quality of your personal energy changes. It shifts from a chaotic, static-filled signal to a clear, coherent, and powerful vibration. And the universe, which is not a dead, empty void, but a living, resonant field of intelligence, responds to this vibration. It responds not to your noisy requests, but to the quiet truth of who you have become. This is the profound principle behind what many now call the law of attraction, a principle the ancient Taoists understood not as a method for getting what you want, but as a natural law of being. The popular understanding of this law is often fraught with the desires of the ego. It is taught as a technique for demanding things from the universe, for visualizing a new car or a bigger house with such intensity that the cosmos is forced to deliver it. This approach is born from a fundamental misunderstanding. The universe does not respond to the frequency of wanting. The state of wanting, by its very nature, is a powerful broadcast of not having. When you desperately crave wealth, your entire being vibrates with the feeling of lack. When you frantically search for a partner, you are broadcasting the signal of loneliness. This needy, grasping energy is itself a form of static, a chaotic frequency that often repels the very things you seek or attracts circumstances that mirror your inner state of lack. You are shouting at the universe, and the universe can only reflect back the chaos of your shout. The Taoist path is infinitely more subtle and powerful. It is not about attracting what you want, it is about attracting what you are. It is not a process of getting, but of aligning. The focus is not on changing the outer world, but on transforming your inner world. For it is your state of being, your core vibrational resonance, that is the true creative force in your life. To attract abundance, you must first cultivate a state of inner fullness, a feeling of gratitude and sufficiency for what is right now. To attract love, you must first become a source of love, radiating the compassion you have discovered within yourself. To attract peace, you must become the embodiment of peace. This is not about pretending or faking it till you make it. It is the authentic result of the deep inner work you have undertaken. Imagine you are a broadcasting tower. For most of your life, this tower has been transmitting a messy, distorted signal. The static of your anxious thoughts, the competing frequencies of your desires and fears, the faint, haunting signals of your past traumas, all of this is broadcast out into the ether. And the life you experience is the program that perfectly matches this chaotic broadcast. When you practice stillness, when you allow the waters of your mind to settle, the static stops. This silence is not empty. It is pregnant with power. It is the pure, silent carrier wave. Upon this pristine silence, the true frequency of your being can finally be broadcast without distortion. The clear, coherent vibration of your cultivated qi, the gentle hum of your accepted self, the resonant frequency of a heart at peace. This is the signal that now emanates from you. Think of it like a tuning fork. If you strike a tuning fork tuned to the note of C, any other C tuning forks in the room will begin to vibrate in sympathy. They resonate. They are awakened by a frequency that matches their own nature. They do not need to be touched or forced. It is a law of physics. When you, through your inner work, begin to vibrate at the frequency of peace, The people, opportunities, and insights that resonate with peace are naturally and effortlessly drawn into your experience. When you broadcast the clear signal of love and compassion, you will be amazed at how love and compassion are reflected back to you from the most unexpected places. It is not magic, it is resonance. The universe is not a catalogue from which you order things. It is a mirror that reflects your own face. Therefore, true manifestation is not about acquiring more things for the ego's collection. It is about the quality of your life aligning with the quality of your consciousness. When your inner state is one of clarity, you will find that solutions to problems appear spontaneously. When your inner state is one of trust in the flow, you will find that your needs are met in graceful and surprising ways, often before you even recognize them as needs. You are not doing the attracting. Your state of being is the attraction. This is Wu Wei, effortless action on a cosmic scale. You are no longer the frantic rower trying to force your boat to a destination. You have become the river itself, and the landscape naturally arranges itself around your new course. You have become the quiet, powerful center of your own universe, and life begins to orbit around your stillness. This profound and intimate relationship between your inner vibration and your outer world reveals a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. If your inner state can influence the world around you, then the line between inside and outside cannot be as solid as it appears. If your consciousness resonates with the cosmos, then you cannot be a separate, isolated entity. This law of resonance is the evidence that the feeling of being a small, separate self, a lonely individual adrift in a vast universe, is a profound and painful illusion. What if the sense of separation itself is the only thing standing between you and a life of grace? What if you are not a drop of water in the ocean, but the entire ocean contained within a single drop? The law of resonance, the deep and subtle conversation between your inner state and the outer world, leads us to the edge of a breathtaking revelation. If your consciousness is not contained within your skull, if your energy is not bound by your skin, then the entire foundation upon which we have built our lives, the belief that we are separate individuals, must be an illusion. This belief in your own separation is the primary source of all human fear, loneliness, and conflict. It is the root illusion from which all other sufferings grow. You believe you are a single, isolated wave, and so you fear being dashed upon the shore. The deepest truth of the Tao is that you are not the wave, you are the entire ocean. From the moment we learn to say I, we begin to construct a fortress of self. I am this subject, and the rest of the world is a collection of objects. There is me, and there is not me. My body, my thoughts, my feelings belong inside the fortress. Your body, your thoughts, your feelings are outside. From within this fortress, the world looks like a dangerous and competitive place. We must protect our walls, gather resources for ourselves, and compete with all the other separate fortresses for love, for safety, for success. This viewpoint is so deeply ingrained, it feels like an absolute truth, but it is a trick of perception, a dream from which we can awaken. Look at your own body, the very symbol of your separate self. Is it truly separate? The air that is in your lungs right now was, moments ago, the breath of a tree. The water that makes up most of your cells was once a cloud, a river, the ocean. The atoms that constitute your being were forged in the heart of stars billions of years ago. You are not a static object, you are a process. You are a place where the universe is constantly flowing through, a temporary pattern, a whirlpool in the great river of the Tao. The whirlpool has a distinct form for a while, but it is made of nothing but river. You have a distinct form for a while, but you are made of nothing but the cosmos. A single leaf, fluttering on a branch, might imagine itself to be a solitary being. It might worry about its own survival, its own place in the sun. But this is a profound misunderstanding of its nature. The leaf cannot exist for a single second without the twig that holds it, the branch that feeds it, the great trunk that supports it, the hidden roots that nourish it, and the vast, dark earth that grounds it all. The leaf is not separate from the tree. The leaf is the tree, expressing itself as a leaf. Its well-being is inseparable from the well-being of the whole. To poison the roots is to poison the leaf. To give water to the tree is to give life to the leaf. You are this leaf. your family, your community, your environment, the entire planet. This is your tree. Your belief that you can somehow damage your environment without damaging yourself, or that you can harm another person without harming yourself, is the same illusion as the leaf believing it is separate from its roots. This is the true foundation of what is known as karma. In the West, karma is often misunderstood as a cosmic system of reward and punishment, a divine scorecard. But from the Taoist perspective, it is simple physics playing out in a unified field. When you understand that there is no true separation, karma becomes self-evident. If you, a wave, try to strike out and harm another wave, what are you truly doing? You are merely hitting the water of which you yourself are made. The violent energy you put out into the ocean immediately becomes the turbulent water that you must then navigate. If you pour a kindness, a moment of compassion, into the world, you are adding that harmony to the very substance of your own being. It is not that a good deed will be rewarded later. The good deed is its own reward because it immediately raises the vibrational quality of the whole, and you are not separate from the whole. It is the universe's perfect and immediate balancing of its own energy. Harming another is, quite literally, harming yourself. Healing another is, quite literally, healing yourself. When this illusion of separation begins to dissolve, the feeling of loneliness, the deep existential ache of the isolated ego, becomes impossible. How can the ocean feel lonely? How can the forest feel separate from itself? You realize that you have never been alone. You are intimately connected to every star, every stone, every person, every creature. You are a unique and precious expression of a single magnificent consciousness, the one Tao that is looking out through every pair of eyes. The fear of death also transforms. The wave fears its end, the moment it crashes on the beach and is no more. But when the wave realizes it is water, it understands that it is not dying. It is simply returning to its true nature. It is going home. Our lives are this same journey, a brief, beautiful wave of individual expression, returning to the infinite ocean of being from which we came. This realization is not just a philosophical concept. It is a lived reality that changes everything. It heals the rift between you and the world. The world is no longer a collection of alien objects to be feared or exploited. It is your own larger body. You begin to treat the earth not as a resource, but as your own foundation. You begin to see animals not as lesser beings, but as fellow expressions of the one life. And most profoundly, you begin to see other people in a completely new light. They are no longer competitors or strangers. They are other waves in the same ocean. They are you in a different form. What then does this mean for our most intimate connections? How do we relate to our partners, our children, our friends, and even our enemies when we see that they are not truly other? We discover that every relationship is a sacred opportunity, a chance to meet ourselves in a living, breathing mirror. Having come to see our relationships as a sacred curriculum, every interaction a mirror for our own healing, our lives begin to take on a powerful new meaning. The journey is no longer a random sequence of events, but a purposeful unfolding of awakening. This naturally brings us to one of the deepest and often most anxiety-inducing questions a human can ask. What is my purpose? Our modern world has turned this question into a heavy burden. We are taught that purpose is a singular, spectacular destination, a hidden treasure that we must find in order to justify our existence. It is presented as a specific job title, a world-changing invention, a great work of art, or a heroic calling. We scroll through the lives of others, seeing their curated highlights, and we feel a gnawing sense that we are falling behind, that we are missing our one true purpose. This creates a culture of profound anxiety, a feeling that our life is merely a waiting room, and we are sitting impatiently, waiting for our real life, our purposeful life to begin. The Tao, in its quiet and profound wisdom, offers a liberation from this entire paradigm of struggle. It gently takes the heavy burden of finding your purpose from your shoulders and reveals a truth that has been available to you all along. Purpose is not a destination you must race towards, but the very quality of the path you are walking. Right now, it is not what you achieve, but who you are being. It is not found in the extraordinary, but in the way you inhabit the ordinary. The great misunderstanding of our time is the equation of purpose with profession. We ask children what they want to be when they grow up, and we expect an answer in the form of a job title. We chain our identity and our sense of worth to our economic function, to our productivity, to a role that is, by its very nature, impermanent. When the job is lost, when the career ends, the person who has fused their purpose to it experiences a crisis of being. They feel they have lost not just an income, but their very reason for existing. The Tao teaches that your true purpose is far more stable, far more profound, and entirely independent of external roles. Your purpose is to be in alignment with the great flow of life itself. The purpose of a river is to flow. The purpose of a star is to shine. Your purpose is to be the most authentic and present version of yourself that you can possibly be. It is to live in accordance with the principles that have been unfolding within you on this journey. Your purpose is to be the still valley, receiving all experiences without judgment. Your purpose is to be the flowing water, adapting to life with grace and persistence. Your purpose is to be the uncarved block, resting in the simple, honest truth of your own nature. This redefines everything. It means your purpose is not in the future. It is here, now, in this very breath. It is found in the quality of attention you bring to the most mundane tasks. When you wash a single teacup, if you are fully present with the warmth of the water, the smoothness of the ceramic, the gentle motion of your hands, in that moment, you are living a life of profound purpose. You are in perfect alignment with the isness of reality. You are not distracted by thoughts of the past or future. You are one with the simple, unfolding Tao of the moment. When you listen to another person, truly listen, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but offering the vast, empty space of your presence for them to be heard, you are fulfilling your purpose. When you feel a difficult emotion and, instead of running, you meet it with the compassionate acceptance of the sky meeting a cloud, you are living your purpose more deeply than any CEO who is running their company on stress and fear. Your purpose, then, is not a destination, but a direction. It is an inner orientation, like the needle of a compass that always points north. For you, that north is presence, it is harmony, it is compassion, it is stillness. No matter where you are or what you are doing, whether you are in a boardroom or a hospital bed, whether you are celebrating a great success or mourning a terrible loss, you can always, in any moment, orient yourself toward this inner north. You can always choose to take a conscious breath. You can always choose to meet the moment with acceptance. This is a purpose that can never be lost, stolen, or made redundant. It is the unshakable foundation of a meaningful life. Let us return to the image of the potter at their wheel. The anxious potter, the one driven by the ego, is completely fixated on the outcome. Their inner world is a storm of questions and fears. Will this pot be perfect? What will people think of it? Will it be better than my last one? What if it cracks in the kiln? Their hands are tense, their movements are forced. They are not truly with the clay. They are battling it, trying to impose their will upon it. The process of creation is not a joy, but a trial to be endured for the sake of a future result. Their purpose is trapped in an imaginary future. The Taoist potter, the one who lives from a place of purpose in the now, has a completely different experience. Their purpose is found in the communion with the process. They delight in the subtle scent of the wet earth. They are attuned to the gentle hum of the spinning wheel. Their hands are not fighting the clay. They are listening to it, dancing with it. They are in a state of wu-wei, a harmonious flow where the boundary between the potter and the clay begins to blur. They are co-creating with the Tao. A beautiful pot inevitably emerges from this process, but it is a byproduct, a natural consequence of a joyful and present engagement. The purpose was not in the finished pot, it was in every sacred moment of its making. And when the pot is formed, the wise potter must face the kiln. They must surrender their creation to the transformative fire, an act of trust in a process they cannot fully control. They let go. This brings us to the second half of our exploration, dying with ease. Our relationship with death is the ultimate measure of our relationship with life. The pervasive fear of death in our culture is not simply a fear of non-existence, It is the accumulated terror of an unlived life. It is the panic of the anxious potter who, having never found joy in the making, is terrified of the kiln that will make the form permanent. Let us look deeper into this fear. It is the fear of unresolved regrets. I wish I had said I love you more often. I wish I had taken that risk. It is the fear of unfinished business. My work is not done. My children are not settled. And it is the ego's absolute terror of its own dissolution, its own non-existence. A life lived with purpose in every moment is the direct antidote to every one of these fears. The fear of regret is healed by living with presence and compassion now. When you treat every interaction as sacred, when you listen with an open heart, when you speak your truth kindly, you leave no space for regret to grow. The fear of unfinished business is healed when you realize that completion is found in the quality of the process, not the final product. When you have given your full presence to each task, each day, your life is complete in every moment. There is no grand business to be finished, because you were never waiting for a future moment to be fulfilled. And finally, the ego's terror of dissolution is healed by the great return. You have practiced disidentifying from your thoughts, from your roles, from your very ego. You have realized that you are not the wave, but the ocean. You are not the cloud, but the sky. Death, then, is not the annihilation of you. It is the dissolution of the temporary pattern, the mask, the wave. It is the final, gentle merging back into the boundless ocean of being that is your true, eternal nature. Having practiced letting go in small ways every day, letting go of grudges, letting go of desires, letting go of the need to be right, you have been in training for this ultimate act of surrender your entire life. Death is simply the final letting go of the oars. It is the ultimate Wu Wei. Thinking of death is not a morbid practice. It is a profound tool for living authentically. To remember that your time is finite is to strip away all that is non-essential. It clarifies your values. In the face of your own mortality, the petty grievances, the anxieties about what others think, the desperate chase for more status or possessions, all of it reveals itself as trivial. The awareness of death is a fierce and loving teacher that constantly asks you, are you living the life that is true to you right now? Are you being the person you truly are in this moment? It invites you to live with courage, love, and authenticity, leaving no room for a life half-lived. And so, we see that living with purpose and dying with ease are not two separate things. They are two sides of the same coin. A life of moment-to-moment purpose is the preparation for a peaceful death. A peaceful acceptance of death is the catalyst for a purposeful life. There is no anxiety, because the purpose is always here. There is no fear, because the life is always complete. When you are liberated from life's two greatest underlying anxieties, am I living right? And what will happen when I die? A profound lightness enters your being. The struggle ceases, the frantic energy dissipates, and what is left in its place is a quiet, deep, and unshakable joy. It is the joy of being free. It is the joy of no longer needing anything from the world, because you have found everything within yourself. It is the supreme contentment of the empty cup. Having walked the path of purpose in the present moment, we arrive at a profound and paradoxical source of peace. By releasing the desperate chase for a future destination, we find ourselves inheriting a quiet joy, a contentment that is not loud or spectacular, but gentle, abiding, and deeply nourishing. Our culture, however, has taught us to be deeply suspicious of this kind of simple happiness. We have been conditioned to believe that happiness is a product of addition, that joy is the result of a full cup. We see an empty space, and our first instinct is to fill it. We see a quiet moment, and we reach for a distraction. We believe our value lies in the contents of our life, our achievements, our knowledge, our possessions. A full cup, we are told, is a successful cup. And so we spend our lives in a state of perpetual accumulation, only to find our cups are heavy, but our thirst is never quenched. There is a timeless story that illustrates this predicament. A brilliant, esteemed scholar, a man whose mind was a great library of facts, theories, and arguments, traveled a long way to challenge a wise old Taoist master. He entered the master's simple home and immediately began to speak, pouring out his vast knowledge, quoting ancient texts, dissecting complex philosophies. The master listened patiently, then offered to serve tea. He took the scholar's cup, a fine porcelain cup representing the scholar's own refined mind, and began to pour. The hot, fragrant tea filled the cup, rising to the brim. The scholar, still talking, barely noticed. The master, with a steady hand, continued to pour. The tea overflowed, spilling onto the saucer, then onto the table, a dark stain spreading across the wood. "Stop!" the scholar cried, finally jolting out of his own monologue. "The cup is full. It cannot hold another drop." The master paused, looked at the scholar with eyes as clear as still water, and said softly, "Like this cup, your mind is overflowing with your own ideas and speculations. You have come to me for wisdom, but you have left no room to receive it. Before I can give you anything, you must first empty your cup. We are all this, scholar. Our cup, our consciousness, is perpetually full. It is full of the sediment of the past, not just regrets, but old identities we cling to, faded glories we endlessly replay, and ancient hurts we keep rehydrating with our attention, refusing to let them dry. It is full of the froth of the future, not just anxieties, but elaborate, rigid plans, detailed fantasies, and 1,000 expectations of how things should be, which blind us to how things are. And perhaps most pervasively, our cup is full of the dregs of second-hand living. It is cluttered with the opinions of others we have mistaken for our own, the societal shoulds we have passively absorbed, the relentless narratives of news and social media, and the endless stream of information we consume without digestion. We feel so full, but when we look closely at the contents, we realize very little of it is truly ours. The consequence of this constant fullness is not a feeling of richness, but one of exhaustion. It is heavy. It takes an enormous amount of energy to carry around all those opinions, to defend all those beliefs, to manage all those anxieties, to nurse all those grievances. A full mind is a tense mind. It is defensive, rigid, and brittle. It cannot learn because it believes it already knows. It cannot love freely because it is protecting old wounds. It cannot see beauty because it is too busy judging and comparing. A full life, packed with endless activity and ambition, leaves no space for the grace of the unknown, for spontaneous joy, for simply being. We have become so preoccupied with filling, managing, and defending the contents of our cup that we have forgotten its primary purpose, to receive. The great secret of the Tao is that joy and wisdom are not found in the contents, but in the emptiness of the cup itself. This emptiness is not a terrifying void, a barren nothingness. The Chinese character for emptiness, Kong, does not mean lack. It means spaciousness, receptivity, and pure potential. It is the silence that allows the note of music to be heard. It is the empty space in a room that makes it useful and livable. It is the unpainted silk of a canvas that allows the artist to create. It is the vast, open sky that allows all the clouds of existence to pass through without resistance. The empty cup is a mind that is uncluttered, a heart that is open, and a spirit that is ready to receive the universe as it is. The emptying of the cup is not another violent act of self-improvement. You do not empty it by force. It is the gentle, natural consequence of all the practices you have been cultivating. When you sit in stillness and simply observe your thoughts without grasping them, you are allowing the muddy sediment to settle, revealing the clear water beneath. When you courageously face your shadow and reclaim your projected anger and fear, you stop pouring that poison into your own cup. When you practice acceptance, you stop the endless inflow of judgment and resistance. And when you embrace the three treasures, especially moderation, you make the conscious choice to stop adding unnecessary clutter to your life. You begin to appreciate the elegance of simplicity. The emptying is a process of letting go, of unburdening, of returning to a natural state of clarity. Let us look at three archetypes who understand the power of the empty cup: the child, the artist, and the sage. The child's cup is naturally empty. They have no grand theories about life, no heavy past to carry. And so, they can be utterly absorbed by the wonder of a ladybug crawling on their hand. That ladybug fills their entire universe in that moment. It is a source of profound, unadulterated joy. The child shows us that wonder is our natural state when we are not full of other things. The true artist knows they must empty themselves before they can create. They must let go of their preconceived ideas, their ego, and their desire for a specific outcome. They must become an empty channel, a hollow bamboo, through which the spirit of creativity can flow. The greatest art comes not from a full mind, but through an empty vessel. The sage or the master has a cup that is empty by choice, by wisdom. They have seen all the contents, the desire, the fear, the knowledge, the ambition, and have recognized them as transient clouds. They have intentionally let them go, not out of ignorance, but out of a profound understanding that peace is found in the spaciousness itself, not in any particular thing that might temporarily fill it. This brings us to a crucial distinction between the world's idea of abundance and the Tao's wisdom of sufficiency. The world defines abundance as accumulation, more money, more power, more things. It is a numbers game, and it is a game that can never be won, because the nature of the ego is that more is never enough. This is the tyranny of the hedonic treadmill. The thrill of the new car quickly fades, and it becomes just the car. The bigger house becomes just the house. The bar of desire is always rising, and you are left in a state of perpetual, low-grade striving. Sufficiency, on the other hand, is a radical act of inner contentment. It is not an external condition, but an internal realization. It is the deep, cellular feeling of enough. It is looking at your life, exactly as it is, and realizing that you lack nothing of fundamental importance. This feeling is the only true and lasting abundance, because it comes from within. It is the wealth of wanting little. It is the joy of the empty cup, which can be filled to the brim with the simple taste of water and be perfectly content. This joy, this freedom from the relentless ache of wanting, is the ultimate liberation. It is a quiet, steady, and unshakable happiness. It does not mean you will not enjoy life's pleasures, but your well-being no longer depends on them. You are drinking from a spring within your own being, so you are no longer desperately thirsty for what the world can offer. You are at peace. This deep sense of sufficiency, this feeling of being finally at home in your own skin, is not just a fleeting mood. It is a stable ground of being. It is a space. It is a sanctuary. As you learn to abide in this inner contentment, you realize you have all the materials you need to build a sacred space that you can inhabit always, a refuge from all storms. How then do we take this quiet joy, this feeling of enough, and consciously construct from it a temple in our very own heart? You have tasted the profound and liberating joy of the empty cup. You have discovered that true contentment is not found in the noisy pursuit of more, but in the quiet recognition of your own sufficiency. This inner state of peace is not a fleeting mood. It is a place. It is a sanctuary. But for many of us, it feels like a place we can only visit, a beautiful garden we stumble upon and are then forced to leave. The great work that lies before us now is to transform this temporary refuge into a permanent home. It is time to stop being a spiritual tourist in your own inner world and to become its master architect, to consciously and lovingly build a temple in your own heart. Our world is full of sacred places, magnificent cathedrals, ancient stone circles, and serene mountain monasteries. We journey to them seeking peace, seeking connection, seeking a respite from the chaos of our lives. These external sanctuaries are a gift, a reminder of the peace that is possible, but their ultimate purpose is to point you back toward the only sanctuary that can never be taken from you, the one that exists within the landscape of your own consciousness. External temples can be closed. The world can change. Our bodies age, and our ability to travel may fade. The only truly reliable refuge is the one you build yourself, a place that is as close as your own breath, as constant as your own awareness. To undertake this construction is to end the feeling of spiritual homelessness that haunts the modern soul, the sense of being an exile in the world. It is the beginning of truly coming home. Every great construction project begins with surveying the land and laying a foundation. Before you can build, you must know your ground. Your inner landscape contains many types of terrain. There is the rocky, unstable ground of the anxious mind, with its constant chatter and shifting opinions. To build, there would be to build on sand. But beneath that surface layer, there is another ground. There is the deep, solid bedrock of your own embodied presence. This is the foundation for your temple. It is the stillness you discovered in the valley, the quiet hum of aliveness that exists beneath all the noise. Your first task as the architect of your own peace is to clear the ground. This is an act of conscious intention. For a few moments, you set aside the rubble of your to-do lists, the debris of your worries, the blueprints of your future plans. You create a clear, sacred space. Now, we lay the foundation stone. This is not a thought or an idea. It is a felt sense. Bring your awareness out of your head and let it descend, like a gentle weight, through your body. Feel the points of contact between your body and the surface that supports you. This is the first cornerstone, the tangible connection to the earth. Feel the solidity of your own bones, the deep, quiet strength of your own skeleton. This is the bedrock. Feel the subtle tingling of energy in your hands, the gentle rhythm of your heart, the slow, tidal movement of your belly as you breathe. This is the living soil, the fertile ground of your own being. Take a moment to truly inhabit this space. This is your sacred plot of land. It has always been here, waiting for you. The foundation of your temple is this deep, unwavering, embodied presence. With the foundation secure, we can begin to raise the walls. The walls of your temple are not made of stone or wood. They are built, brick by brick, from your own mindful breaths. Each conscious breath is a solid, perfectly formed brick. The in-breath is the gathering of the material, drawing in the fresh, vital chi of the universe, the very substance of life. The out-breath is the careful act of setting the brick in place, releasing tension, letting go of the unnecessary, and settling more deeply onto your foundation of stillness. Some breaths are long, deep, foundational stones you lay during quiet meditation. Other breaths are small, quick, centering bricks you lay in the middle of a busy day, reminding you of your inner home. The quality of the bricks matters. A breath taken in haste and anxiety is a crumbling, porous brick. A breath taken with presence and intention is solid, strong, and true. You are building a sanctuary, not a prison. This is a patient, loving act of construction, moment by moment, breath by breath. What binds these bricks together, giving the walls their unshakable integrity? The mortar of your temple is the spacious awareness in which the breath occurs. It is the silence that cradles the sound, the stillness that holds the movement. In our previous explorations, we called this the sky. This awareness is the invisible yet all-powerful mortar. Without it, your mindful breaths are just a disconnected pile of bricks. With it, they become a seamless, impenetrable wall of peace. You cultivate this mortar by cherishing the gaps, the pauses. The pause at the top of the inhale, the pause at the bottom of the exhale, the silent space between your thoughts. These are not empty voids, they are the very substance of peace, the connective tissue of your temple. A temple is not a bunker. It must have windows to let the light in and to view the world from. The windows of your temple are your senses. The practice is to keep these windows clean, to see the world directly as it is, without the dirty film of your judgments and interpretations. To hear the sounds of the world without the immediate filter of liking or disliking. To feel the sensations in your body without telling a story about them. When you live inside your temple, you are not cut off from life. You engage with it more intimately than ever before, but from a place of safety and clarity. And what of the roof that protects this sacred space? The roof is your trust in the Tao. It is woven from every moment you chose to let go of the oars, to accept what is, to have faith in the flow. It is a roof not of resistance, but of surrender. It does not protect you by fighting the rain. It protects you by providing a space so peaceful that the sound of the rain becomes a beautiful song. Finally, we must beautify our temple. We decorate it not with gold or jewels, but with the quality of our character. Each act of compassion is a candle placed on the altar, filling the space with a warm, living light. Each act of moderation, of choosing enough, is like opening the windows to let in a clean, fresh breeze. Each act of humility, of letting go of the need to be right, creates a silent, resonant echo within the walls that makes the entire space feel holy. Your practice of the three treasures is the art that makes your temple not just a shelter, but a place of breathtaking beauty and grace. To inhabit this temple is your life's greatest joy and most profound responsibility. You are its keeper. Daily practice is your ritual of care. A few moments of meditation in the morning are the act of unbarring the great doors and letting the morning light stream in. A moment of gratitude before you eat is a humble offering placed on the altar. A period of quiet reflection in the evening is the gentle sweeping of the floors, clearing away the dust of the day. You are no longer just a person struggling in the world. You are the abbot or abbess of your own inner monastery, tending to the sacred flame of your own presence. You learn to use this temple as both a refuge and a source. In moments of external chaos, you can retreat through its doors with a single conscious breath, finding instant shelter. But more than that, you begin to live from this temple. Your decisions, your words, and your actions begin to originate from the clarity and peace of this inner sanctum. You are no longer shouting from the windy, exposed courtyard of the ego. You are speaking from the quiet, resonant center of your own being. You carry the peace of the temple out into the world with you. Your very presence becomes an offering of that peace to others. When this becomes your reality, when you have established your new address in the center of your own heart, your perception of everything changes. The old view, the perspective of the struggling ego out in the storm, begins to feel like a memory of a distant land you once visited. You are now looking at the same world, but through a different set of windows. The windows are clear, the air is still, and the view is vast. What does the world look like now? What does reality feel like when it is perceived not through the fearful eyes of the separate self, but through the calm, wise, and compassionate eyes of the Tao itself? You have built a temple in your heart. You have learned to sit in its serene and silent chambers, to tend to its sacred flame with the gentle ritual of your own breath and presence. This is no small feat. It is the most significant architectural project of a human life. And now, a profound shift begins to occur. You start to experience the world from within this sanctuary, looking out through its clear and quiet windows. The world has not changed, yet everything is transformed. The frantic, judgmental art critic of the ego, who used to run around the canvas of your life labeling every brushstroke as right or wrong, has been gently retired. You are no longer standing inches from the painting, lost in the confusing and chaotic daubs of color. You have taken a conscious step back, and from this new vantage point, with soft eyes and a quiet heart, the masterpiece begins to reveal itself. To see with the eyes of the Tao is to witness the hidden coherence in all things, to perceive the sublime and intelligent artistry that weaves through every moment of your existence. This new perception is not an intellectual understanding, it is a direct seeing, a felt sense that unfolds in three great, simultaneous recognitions. The first of these is that you begin to perceive a profound and intricate order within what once appeared to be meaningless chaos. From the ego's ground-level view, life often feels random and cruel. A sudden illness, a financial disaster, the betrayal of a friend. These events seem like senseless tragedies, brutal tears in the fabric of the life you were trying to weave. This perspective is the source of our deepest feelings of victimhood and despair. Imagine your life is a magnificent cosmic tapestry. The ego lives on the underside of this tapestry. From there, all it can see is a chaotic mess of tangled threads, random knots, and frayed ends. It sees no pattern, no picture, only a confusing jumble. It protests. This is wrong, this knot is painful, this thread is out of place. But when you learn to see with the eyes of the Tao, you are given a glimpse of the top side of the tapestry. You see for the first time the breathtaking image that is being woven. You realize that every single tangled thread, every tight and painful knot you experienced from below, was absolutely essential to create the depth, the contrast, and the beauty of the image on this side. The dark threads of sorrow were necessary to make the golden threads of joy shine so brightly. The complex knot of a great challenge was what gave a central figure its strength and definition. You can verify this in your own life. Look back at a period you once considered a disaster, a painful ending, a humiliating failure. At the time, it felt like chaos. But now, with the wisdom of hindsight, Can you see the hidden order? Can you see how that ending was a necessary clearing that made way for a new, more authentic beginning? Can you see how that failure taught you a lesson so crucial that you could not have learned it any other way? Seeing with the eyes of the Tao is to have this wise, retrospective view in real time. You learn to trust the weaver. When you are in the midst of chaos, you can feel the tangled threads from below, but you hold a quiet faith that they are part of a beautiful and intelligent pattern that you cannot yet see. You are living the dance of yin and yang, understanding that the moments of greatest chaos are often the pivotal points of transformation, where one energy is yielding to its opposite, where the entire pattern is rebalancing itself in a display of cosmic genius. You stop fighting the chaos and instead become a curious and trustful observer of the great weaving. The second great recognition is that you begin to find a deep, soul-stirring beauty in the impermanence of all things. The ego is a creature of permanence. It builds its fortress and wants it to last forever. It fears change, it dreads decay, and it is terrified of death. The ego's idea of beauty is one of airbrushed perfection, of plastic flawlessness, of a youth that never fades. This creates a state of constant warfare with the fundamental nature of reality, which is that everything is in a constant state of flux. To see with the eyes of the Tao is to lay down your arms in this war and fall in love with the world as it truly is. It is to embrace the profound Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi, wisdom of finding beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. You begin to see the serene grace in a moss-covered stone, the poignant story in a weathered wooden door, the delicate elegance of a cracked teacup held together with golden lacquer. You no longer see these as flawed objects, but as things made more beautiful by their history, by their honest engagement with time. This perception heals the sickness of newness that plagues the modern mind, the relentless craving for the next upgrade, the next distraction, the next flawless experience. You find a deeper satisfaction in the things that have been with you, that have served you, that bear the marks of a life lived. This aesthetic shift is a reflection of a deep inner transformation. When you can see the beauty in an imperfect and aging world, you can finally see the beauty in your own imperfect and aging self. You stop judging the lines on your face, seeing them not as a sign of decay, but as a map of your laughter and your tears. You stop hiding your scars, seeing them not as blemishes, but as testaments to your resilience. You are able to love your life and yourself, not in spite of your flaws and your transient nature, but because of them. You find a profound peace in the gentle, melancholy rhythm of a rising and passing away. The third, and perhaps most liberating recognition, is that you begin to see the sacred in the utterly mundane. The ego is a great divider. It separates the world into categories. This is holy, that is profane, this is spiritual, that is worldly. We believe that to find the sacred, we must go to a special place, a church, a mountaintop, a meditation cushion. And so, most of our life, the part where we are working, commuting, paying bills, washing clothes, is relegated to a lesser, unspiritual category. When you see with the eyes of the Tao, this entire division collapses. Since all of existence is a seamless manifestation of the one, indivisible Tao, there can be no part of it that is not sacred. The divine is not confined to your meditation cushion. It is pulsating in the heart of the most ordinary, overlooked moment. Your morning cup of coffee becomes a sacred ceremony. You consider the rain and the sun and the earth that grew the beans, the hands that picked them, the fire that roasted them. The simple act becomes a moment of profound connection with the entire cosmos. A difficult chore, like cleaning a dirty floor, becomes a practice in transforming chaos into order, a meditation on purity and renewal. A conversation with a cashier at the grocery store becomes an opportunity for a sacred exchange of human presence. You realize that you don't need to add spiritual activities to your life. The invitation is to make all of your activities spiritual through the quality of attention you bring to them. Your entire life becomes your practice. Your entire world becomes your temple. When these three recognitions, seeing order in chaos, beauty in impermanence, and the sacred in the mundane fully blossom in your awareness, the long, arduous search for meaning and enlightenment comes to a quiet and natural end. The very identity of being a seeker dissolves. The seeker, by definition, is one who is not there yet. It is a role of the ego that thrives on a sense of lack, on the belief that happiness and peace are in some other place, at some other time. The seeker's journey is predicated on the belief that the treasure is hidden somewhere far away. But now, you see with unmistakable clarity that the treasure was never hidden. It is strewn about your feet in plain sight. It is in the difficult challenge that is teaching you wisdom. It is in the transient beauty of the setting sun. It is in the sacred act of breathing. There is nowhere to go, for you are already in the heart of the sacred. There is nothing to find, for you are already whole. There is nothing to achieve, for you are already an expression of the perfection of the Tao. The feeling of this realization is not a thunderous explosion of light, but a gentle, silent sigh of relief. It is the feeling of putting down a heavy burden you did not even know you were carrying. You are no longer a separate observer, struggling with or analyzing the world. The boundary has dissolved. You are the wind and the trees. You are the observer and the observed. You are the dreamer and the dream. This merging, this cessation of all seeking, is the great homecoming that all souls yearn for. It is the final destination of the path, which, you now realize, was never about going anywhere new. It was always, only, about coming home to where you have always been. It is the great return. Our time together, this long and winding journey through words and ideas, is now drawing to its natural close. The concepts have been offered, the metaphors explored, the signposts pointed out, but the map is not the territory. The description of water will never quench a thirst. The true purpose of this entire journey was not to fill your mind with more knowledge, but to guide you to the edge of your own inner silence, to encourage you to take the final step, alone and in quiet courage, into the vast landscape of your own being. The intellectual work is done. Now, the real integration begins, not in the mind that thinks, but in the heart that knows, and the body that feels. Let these last words not be another lesson, but a final, gentle, guided meditation, a slow walk home to the sanctuary you have discovered within yourself. Let us begin by returning to that most sacred of places, the temple you have built in your heart. Imagine yourself standing just outside its gates. The world with its noise and demands is behind you. Before you is the entrance to your own peace, and you are standing there, not as a visitor, but as its keeper. Feel the profound shift in this role. You are not a frantic guard, bracing for attack. You are the serene and wise gatekeeper, whose only duty is to witness, and whose only tool is a loving, non-judgmental presence. Your posture is relaxed, but upright. Your breath is slow and deep. You are at your post. Now, watch as the visitors of life approach. See, coming down the path, a memory from your past. Perhaps it is a heavy, sorrowful one, hunched over and cloaked in grey. In the old days, as the frantic guard, you would have charged at it, shouting, "You are not welcome here. Go away." You would have engaged in a terrible struggle, wasting all your energy and leaving you shaken. But you are the wise gatekeeper now. You do not move from your post. You simply stand in your quiet dignity as the sorrowful memory approaches. It stops before you. You look at it, not with fear, but with a deep and tender compassion. You see the old wound it carries, and with a gentle inner nod, a bow of pure acceptance, you acknowledge its presence. You say to it, in the language of silence, "I see you. I honor your journey. You are a part of my story, and you are welcome to find rest here." You open the gate, and you watch as the memory, feeling seen and accepted for the first time, shuffles peacefully into the temple grounds to finally be healed in the light of your awareness. It no longer has power over you, because you have ceased to fight it. Next, you see another visitor approaching. This one is frantic, electric, and insubstantial. It darts back and forth, shimmering with anxious energy. It is a fear about the future. The old guard would have panicked, trying to build a wall, trying to predict and control the visitor's every move. But you, the wise gatekeeper, remain still. You feel the frantic energy of the fear, but you are not swept up in it. You are the calm eye of the hurricane. The fear zips up to you, whispering its terrifying stories of what if. You listen, you do not argue, you do not debate. You simply see it for what it is, a cloud of possibility, a phantom woven from thought. You nod to it as well. I see you, fear. Thank you for your attempt to protect me, but I am safe here. You let it pass, and you watch as it dissolves like mist in the vast open space of your temple grounds. Then, a different kind of visitor arrives, one bathed in golden light, a moment of pure joy, a feeling of love, or a sudden insight. The old guard would have become excited, abandoning his post to run after this beautiful visitor, desperately trying to cling to it, to make it stay forever. This desperate clinging is what turns joy into a source of future suffering. But you are the wise gatekeeper. You welcome the joy with an open heart. You savor its warmth. You delight in its beauty, but you do not grasp. You bow to it with gratitude. Welcome. It is a gift to have you here. You enjoy its presence fully, for as long as it chooses to stay. And when it is time for it to depart, as all things must, you let it go with a silent blessing, not with the sorrow of loss, but with gratitude for the visit. Because you did not cling, you are left not with emptiness, but with the sweet resonance of the joy that has passed through. This is your practice, standing at the gate of the present moment, welcoming everything, clinging to nothing. Now, let us turn and step through the gates ourselves, into the temple we have so patiently built. Take a slow, conscious breath, and feel the solid ground of the foundation beneath your feet. This is your own embodied presence, the unshakable bedrock of your being. Feel its weight, its density, its reality. This ground can never be taken from you. It is your connection to the earth, to life itself. Rest your awareness here. Feel the deep sense of safety and stability that comes from being truly grounded in your own body. From this foundation, let your awareness travel up the walls of your temple. These walls are made of 1,000 mindful breaths, each one a brick laid with loving attention. Feel the strength and integrity of this structure. It is not a prison that confines you. It is a sanctuary that protects you. It creates a sacred container for your spirit, a space where you are sheltered from the chaotic winds of the world. Notice the mortar that holds these bricks together. It is the vast, spacious silence of your own awareness. Feel that silence now. It is not an emptiness, but a fullness, a living presence that holds all the sounds of your life within it. It is the canvas upon which your entire life is painted. Look around now and see the windows of your temple. They are your senses, scrubbed clean of judgment. Look through the window of your eyes and see the world of color and form, just as it is, without needing to label it good or bad. Listen through the window of your ears to the symphony of sounds around you, from the distant traffic to the beating of your own heart, hearing it all as the music of the Tao. These windows allow you to connect with the world with a new intimacy, a new clarity, because you are looking from a place of absolute safety. Now, bring your awareness to the great roof arching over you. This roof is your trust in the flow of life, a trust woven from every time you chose to surrender, to let go, to accept what is. It does not shield you by fighting the rain. It protects you by being so vast and peaceful that the rain itself becomes a blessing, a cleansing sound on the roof of your soul. And finally, look upon the altar at the center of your temple. There are no golden idols here. There are 3 living flames, the flame of compassion, which warms all who enter, including yourself. The flame of moderation, which burns cleanly and brightly, wasting no fuel. And the flame of humility, which casts no shadow. This is the sacred fire of your own awakened heart. Let us walk now from the main hall into the deepest part of the temple, the inner sanctum, the Holy of Holies. This is the very center of your heart. Here, there is only a profound and absolute silence. It is here that you can ask the final question. Who is it that built this temple? Who is this gatekeeper? Who is this one who is aware? You are aware of your body, so you cannot be your body. You are aware of your thoughts, so you cannot be your thoughts. You are aware of your emotions, so you cannot be your emotions. You are aware of your life story, so you cannot be your life story. As you gently let go of identification with everything that you can perceive, what remains? Do not search for an answer in words. Let the question dissolve into the quiet. What remains is a feeling, a sense of pure, formless, timeless being. It is the I am before you add anything to it. It is the consciousness that has been the silent witness to your entire life. It is the uncarved block, perfect in its nature. It is the empty cup, infinite in its potential. It is the sky, forever serene. It is the ocean, forever whole. This is your true nature. This is your home. From this deep, silent, and sacred center, let a new mantra arise. Let it not be something you are repeating, but a simple statement of the truth you have now realized in the very core of your being. Let it resonate from this inner sanctum and fill every corner of your temple. Breathe in. I am the stillness. Pause. Feel the unmoving, silent awareness that is you, the sky that holds all things. Breathe out. I am the flow. Pause. Feel the vital, adaptive, living energy of life moving through you, the water that overcomes all obstacles. Breathe in and breathe out. I am home. Pause. Feel the end of all searching, the cessation of all struggle, the profound peace of arrival. Let these words be the last anchor. Let them dissolve now into the great silence from which they came. The journey is complete. The return is made. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to seek. Simply be. Be this peace. Be this stillness. Be this love. Rest here now, in the sacred temple of your own heart. Rest. You are, and have always been, home.